Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is still spinning on the ones and twos. Ladies and gentlemen, we need you to spin. Blah, blah, blah,
like
blah, blah. Share our footage. Share our video. If you can share the Rokfin, that'll be awesome. And I just want to say, what's up? Love coming in. Trey Wright, throwing that love down. Ross Iron Coil, go Convo Couch. Love from Dublin. For fuck's sake, fam. We have a friend from Dublin. Thank you so much, very much, Ross. We love you. We appreciate that. I hope you're not insulted by my Irish accent. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being a man of Southern Italian, being the most marginalized person in the world, when they say,
see,
hey,
this is what they're gonna cut this up and say that you are trying to be a man of color, and that this is like so racist of you, Pasta. Dimitri, whatever his name is, and all those people. Yeah, you're not really helping us out here, man.
All right.
Though your whole 66% Southern Italian, when you look like a freaking German, like it's just...
Well, because I got the other 23% of me, 33, is it 33 or 23% of me is Eastern European, fam. I can't run away from who I am, I'm a little Polish. So, that's who I am, but I am 66% Southern Italian. I have the DNA to prove it.
All right, fam. Sure.
Guys, we have 18 people watching on that Rokfin. Let's get the number up. Let's share it. Let's get it out there. Over on the YouTube, it still has us demonetized. 81 people watching, up to 88. Guys, you know what to do. Get on over.
Like, share,
subscribe. Special thanks to you to our Patreons. All of you have been amazing. The lovely donations on PayPal have been great and stuff. It's really appreciated. It's very helpful for doing what we got to do, because we also like to get out and on the ground and see what's going out there, fam. And we have a few things coming up, don't we?
Yes, we do, fam.
Should we save it for the end of the show?
Yeah,
let's save it for the end of the show. We'll talk about it. So you got to watch the whole show to see what's going on with the CC, with TCC. I don't know if I like that, fam. Some great guests today. 20 people now are watching over on the Rokfin. Get on over to Rokfin. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Trey. We love you. We appreciate all your help. Let's get into it, fam, and people will just join along. So, my favorite Supreme Court justice.
Really?
No, I mean, starting off the segment that we live in a cartoon, the fact that we have to rely on Justice Clarence Thomas to write a dissent on elections to help us out with what's going on, the process, how it was handled, and what we have to do moving forward, fam. It's kind of crazy that it was Alito, it was Gorsuch. Those were the only three that really signed on to look at these cases, and you need 4 Supreme Court justices. So we fell one short, and Justice Clarence Thomas wrote a dissent that I think we need to go over for some really serious bullet points, because it really talks volume to what's going on out there.
But he's a Republican and a conservative, so anything he says, I'm just going to go like this.
Yeah. Well, they're going to say the Me Too stuff because of the whole Anita Hill thing, and our good friend Joe Biden didn't let Anita Hill testify, right?
So, which was bad. I mean, the what he did was bad.
Yes.
Regarding Anita Hill, right? Like that, he's never been my favorite. I don't have a favorite Supreme Court justice. I was never a fan of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, at the very surface level, I can be like, yes, she was a woman, and yes, she broke barriers. That's undeniable. But that's a very surface level analysis, because her policies were not really great for working class and people of color, which is really, it's like a lot of people don't talk about that.
Yeah.
And so I never really had a favorite Supreme Court justice. So
yeah, it's funny because the one I disliked the most, and I don't want to talk ill of the dead, Justice Scalia, being an Italian guy, I was like, where the hell is this asshole coming from with some of the decisions he made? You know what I'm saying? And really the way he was talked down about people of color.
He was one of the most disliked judges by me, for sure.
You know who his best friend was?
No, who?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. They went on vacations together.
No.
There's a historical picture of them on top of an elephant on vacation together, riding on an elephant like a taxi. So it's kind of crazy. They were best friends. They were close to each other. Their families went on vacation together, and yet they were kind of polar opposites. But still, if that is the best Supreme Court justice we have, then we have a lot of problems, fam, because there are no progressives on that Supreme Court whatsoever.
No, not at all.
So
not even close.
Let's get into this. This is actually, instead of going to an article or a video or anything like that, I actually grabbed the dissent, figuring that we can break it down, because I looked at a lot of the analysis, and they won't give you the analysis we give here because we understand what's going on about elections. And I think really that what is going on, the way the January 6th Capitol riots are kind of tied into this whole let's not talk about elections. You're a asshole if you talk about elections. You're actually promoting violence. You've got to stop talking this QAnon nonsense when the framework of our elections are so bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've said before, we don't necessarily have to go back and change the results of the election, but we need to talk about what had happened in this last election to move forward. And kind of Justice Thomas echoes the same kind of sentiment in this dissent. Very upset and disappointed that they didn't take on some of these cases, some of them coming from the last one being from Pennsylvania, which I kind of marked the date knowing that they weren't going to take it. It's always not on standing. They don't want to talk about these things. They don't want to do these things. But it really needs to be done because this is a very serious issue, fam, when it comes to our elections. So shall we get into it?
Yeah.
Let's get into dissent. So we'll start off with Justice Thomas dissenting from the denial. The Constitution gives each state legislator authority to determine the manner of federal elections. Yet both before and after the 2020 election, non-legislative officials in various states took it upon themselves to set rules instead. As a result, we received an unusually high number of petitions and emergency applications contesting those changes. The petitions here present a clear example. I'm going to stop right there, and I wrote step 1 in this dissent right out of the gate. This is something to point out. The laws that were changed by the cabal that we know about, Time Magazine, were illegal, fam. The states that implemented these unconstitutional election laws, at the very least, should have had a 100% forensic audit and recount before they certified the election. The bottom line is, fam, no amount of telling people who believe it wasn't fair that it was fair is going to change their minds unless the counties show their work.
Right. There's no transparency in our elections. You can tell people that they can't prove that the election was fraudulent, but you are not showing them that it wasn't either, because the audits that you're doing aren't real audits.
Yeah.
And you refuse to invite people into what should be a public display of our elections. I mean, elections in other countries are posted for everybody to see on a broadcasting media. Like, they're posted that you can see people counting them. In America, we don't do that. In America, we have things that they don't have in other countries, like mail-in ballots and, ballot harvesting and all these things that they don't have in other countries. And in other countries, you have to pay a penalty if you don't vote. Mm-hmm. So America actually has a very, very lax election system compared to other countries. And no surprise that there's no chain of custody, that there's no trust in our election system if we have a very lax system where most people don't even vote.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's funny, fam, because what you're saying just reminds me, it's like, you think about that other part, well, it's our civic duty to go out there and vote, but yet it seems like the elites or whoever's doing it has purposely broke the system, so you're just frustrated, not even from a point that you don't think your vote counts, but the whole process of getting in line, waiting hours, trying to vote, you know what I'm saying? It could be a hassle, and I think that is by design, so it deters people from actually going to the polls and actually participating in the system so the establishment can hold on to power. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Johnny, you got anything to say about that first part about the laws being changed? Okay, so the next part, the court also ordered, and it was talking about what happened in Pennsylvania about them changing these laws. The court also ordered officials to count ballots received by the new deadline, even if there was no evidence, such as a postmark, that the ballots were mailed by Election Day. This decision to rewrite the rules seems to have affected too few ballots to change the outcome of any federal election. But they may not in the case be, but they may not be the case, but that may not be the case in the future. Thank you so much. These cases provide us with an ideal opportunity to address what authority non-legislative officials have to set election rules, and to do so well before the next election cycle. The refusal to do so is inexplicable. So here's step 2, addressing the issue, not running away from it. This statement shows us that it's not just about Trump or Biden, but rather the fact that the establishment wants nothing to change fundamentally with our elections. This is why we must call balls and strikes, because if we don't address the framework of our election, populist or progressive candidates will get cheated just as well, fam. So your thoughts on the fact that that Congress doesn't want to address the issues, even when I see people speak about this, even in the new bill, because this comes in light of the new bill they're putting out, they're not really talking about the real issues here, and it takes Clarence Thomas to say the fact that we're not even looking at these issues is inexplicable.
Most people aren't going to read the nearly 800 pages of the new legislation, the For the People Act of 2021, because it, like I said, like we went over it, right? It was very tedious, number one. Number two, when you go over it in superficial in the very beginning, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to fix the gerrymandering. We're going to stop these people from being able to have, like a conflict of interest and blah, blah, blah. But when you read the fine print, they actually aren't really changing much at all. They're just giving you superficial terms as to, oh, this is going to be better, but they're really not changing the policy, and they're not at all addressing the other side of elections, which is beyond voter suppression, which is very real. You have the machinery. You have the fact that these machines are it's a black box of voting type of system. These machines are not publicly owned. These machines are owned by private corporations, and they're giving more power to these sellers. So a lot of people are going to look at that legislation. A lot of progressives that know much about the election are going to read highlights and be like, oh yeah, this is great. We should all support this. I mean, I know even some of the Bernie people I know are like, wait, what's wrong with that? Like, why aren't you supporting it?
Yeah.
Somebody said, well, it's pointless to talk about election fraud because with the new Vote for the People Act, blah, 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 it's like it addresses everything. And it's like, no, it doesn't. In fact, it brings up Russiagate and censorship and all of these things that are terrible. But you're not going to take the time to read it because who would?
Yeah.
And so, and also the language that it's used, most people don't read in that sort of level of language too. It's a very tedious and government, type of very like wonky language when you're talking about legislation. So it's done like this on purpose.
Yeah, and it seems like they're really counting on, when some of these laws are made or when people are pushing this certain kind of ideology when it comes to like ballot harvesting or mail-in and stuff like that, I almost feel like the CIA is involved because they really prey on people's impulses. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's very easy. I can get grandma's ballot to her for the ballot, to the registrar easy. You know what I'm saying? This is really good. We can help people out. Let me take your ballot in. And people are like, yeah, that's good. But they don't understand the negative aspects of what's going on. And they don't understand the history too as well. And I'm going to read that because in this next part of his dissent, he kind of addresses the issues of ballot harvest, not so much ballot harvesting, but mail-in fraud. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Second, this time frame imposes especially daunting constraints when combined with the expanded use of mail-in ballots. Voting by mail was traditionally limited to voters who had defined, well-documented reasons to be absent. Okay, and that's something we have to talk about right now. That's what mail-in ballots used to be. It's elderly, it's handicapped, it's overseas, it's military. It's not everybody. But now the establishment wants to push mail-in ballot on a regular basis because it benefits them and it gives them an easy way to cheat clustering ballots. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In the case of what's going on in Arizona right now, they don't want the logic and accuracy test. They want to look at the ballots, the ballot images, right? Johnny Acronym, who's John Brakey, who's got all these acronyms, he also talks about the fact that obtaining the ballots, voting's a private. Counting is public.
Right.
And when you try to obtain the actual physical ballots, the counties and the states are hesitant to give that up because they want to protect people's privacy. But the ballot images, you know what I'm saying, that's what they want to grab. So that's the type of audits they want to have that they don't have. I'm going to the next part real quick. Pennsylvania knows this well. Even before widespread absentee voting, a federal court had reversed the result of a state senate election in Philadelphia after finding that the supposedly prevailing candidate conducted an illegal absentee ballot conspiracy and that the election officials covertly facilitated the scheme with the specific purpose of ensuring a victory for that candidate. So here's a situation right now, and the next one it talks about
covertly, secretly.
Yeah, secretly
did that. Yeah.
And what I'm trying to point out, and when it comes to this over here, fam, is the fact that we've seen cases where with ballot harvesting, they overturned a case in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. With fraud, with mail-in voting, they overturned a case in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. We actually have history.
We have precedent.
Yeah, we have precedents in history within our lifetime not too long ago where these two mechanisms can be used nefariously to cheat elections. So in effect, when people say, well, mail-in voting is better, it's, we've had it in Washington for so long, we haven't had a problem, when you don't even know what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
One Biden, one King County, Washington.
Ah, okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And here's the thing: you combine ballot harvesting with mail-in voting, and that you can put your mail-in ballot in any type of drop box. You've just crushed the chain of custody, right? So you don't know where these ballots are coming from. In the case of all these states that were contested, being Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, a lot of times these ballots came in the middle of the night, but they don't know where they came from. There's no chain of custody to tell where they come from. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is when we do our elections, we have to have backstops in there for security. We can't exchange accessibility, and give up our security is what I'm trying to say. And since we have precedents before, we have to take it head on. And Clarence Thomas kind of points that out in his dissent. So
Well, people are going to say, Pasta, that you're blaming the voter by making it harder for them to vote. How do you get around that argument? Because I think one way to get around that argument is to say, well, if we have transparency and a chain of custody, then yeah, by all means, like, you can do that. But there's no way to check these ballots, track these ballots. I can track my passport right now to see where it's at, but I can't track my ballot.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things we can do. We have to actually, if we want to strengthen the mail system, we have to put securities checks and balances in there. I don't see in any way, shape, or form we should have any drop boxes out in the middle of nowhere. I can't say that I can find a way that would make that easy.
Yeah.
However, we can make it easier to drop it in the mail. We've always depended on the mail. It's easy to put a piece of mail in the mailbox, right? It's simple, and have tracking with that, and that would fix a lot of things right there. So if we do want to have mail-in balloting, you know what I'm saying, we want to expand that, we have to have it with tracking. The same way the actual ballots, we have to keep track of the ballots, how they go out. But that's going to take extensive looking at the poll books, understanding that, you know, these poll books might have people in them that have moved or passed away, but still not kind of, you know, giving a form of suppression and not allowing certain people to be taken off the rolls that want to vote. Right. So that would also be improved with same-day registration, right? So there's so many different ways we can actually fix the system and secure it, but we have to have these conversations about it. And right now, the establishment is pushing away any conversation about it, period, fam. So, you know.
Yep.
Okay, so the last part I want to read in the last paragraph, and this is kind of really cool. It says, after all, confidence in the integrity of the electoral process is essential to the functioning of our participatory democracy. Did I say that right? Okay. Identifying a compelling interest in rooting out the mere appearance of corruption in the political process. An incorrect allegation left to fester without a robust mechanism to test and disprove it drives honest citizens out of the democratic process and breeds distrust of our government. And I put this down. We lack a true mechanism that delivers the checks and balances within our election process, fam. It shouldn't be up to the accuser to prove fraud. It should be up to the election officials to prove it was fair. This is our democracy, and that's the way I feel. We achieve this goal by providing transparency and a strong chain of custody and the implementation of true audits. And that's what you do, fam, because everybody has this argument. It's up to the people accusing to prove that it was fraud. Like, you have no evidence. I'm like, I don't believe that. You have to prove to us that it's fair. This is our democracy, and we should know it's fair. So the fact is that they twisted this narrative like, you can't prove any fraud. You have zero evidence of what's going on. And we talk about it all the time. Well, we don't have the rights and the means to obtain the evidence because we're told that it's proprietary software, it's people's personal information. So this is what he also puts down to as well, that if we don't have these mechanisms in place, nobody's going to ever be trusting in our election system, and they're just going to opt out.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, we need some sort of transparency in our election. You can call it whatever it is you want, but the problem is Democrats are using this to shut down any sort of dissent regarding the elections. Like I said in the other day, Cori Bush, the first thing she fucking did was try to get these people pushed out of Congress. And, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of those people. Like, I think she, you know, I disagree with her ideologically. I thought it was dumb for her to believe in QAnon. I mean, come on. Like, even Alex Jones was making fun of QAnon. But the fact is, she was talking about the elections. And that is what they didn't really mostly like. They can make fun of her all they want, but that was really the threat that they saw with her, and why they considered her like such an extremist and why they're trying to get her out of Congress. And it's like, you know, if we're going to be mad about people trying to get progressives out of Congress, you know, it's still wrong to try to get people out of Congress for their belief and their ideology. Let's fight them the real way. You know, we could win with populist ideas, but we don't have a system where those ideas get through. Otherwise, we'd have healthcare for all, and we'd have a higher stimulus. You think most people are okay with how the government has handled it? No, a lot of people weren't even political, or like, yeah, this is bullshit. Like, but I want to get at least something, right? People are driven to that point of desperation where they're like, well, they're not giving us anything, so let's just take what we can get, because they've been taught their whole lives that they need to just accept the bare minimum, except scraps that are being given to them. And that's not the case. That's not the case. You know what I mean? It wasn't always like that. So it's all part of the system where you need to have dissent. You need to have the ability to have dissent when it comes to our election system. When you don't have transparency in it, people are not going to vote, or if they vote, they're not going to believe the results. And if you want to prove to them that the results are accurate, why not just show them how accurate they are?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have true audits. We don't have a robust mechanism to take a look at these things and make people confident in them. And however, this mechanism of, hey, man, just shut up. You're being a QAnon conspiracy theorist. You know, I saw somebody online the other day saying some stuff like that, like, oh, Trump shouldn't be punished for leading people to the Capitol. He should be punished for giving out false information about the elections. I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? You're going to start trying to shape people's views and stuff like that? Show us that those elections are fair. Show us your work. Just give us audits, you know what I'm saying? And let's address the system. Let's address the proprietary software. Let's address the issues we have with the mail-in ballots. Let's address the counting before it happens, like when Raji Rob's case. Let's address these things and make our elections fair. And it's just crazy. Like I said in the beginning of this segment, we live in a cartoon. The fact that we have to rely on Clarence
Thank you,
Thomas. That's crazy. Johnny, you have anything else to say about this segment? What do you think about Mr. Thomas's dissent?
Yeah, well, it's just like the county officials always tried to promote this like in LA County, they always say, "Oh, we're transparent and we're fair and everything like that." And the reality is that they're not transparent. And so if they're doing that in LA County, I can imagine they're doing it everywhere else. They're saying, we haven't done anything wrong. We've never done anything wrong.
Yeah.
We've never messed up. We've never, there's never bad actors.
Yeah.
So that how do you believe that? So that framing, and a lot of people don't know what we know. We're in a bubble, and we're lucky that we know it because we're more aware of how the system functions and works, right?
Yeah.
But I believe more and more people are finding out. More and more people are realizing that the mainstream media is fucking bullshit. And but still, we're still not in the general population. Still doesn't. I feel like doesn't know about true election fraud. Maybe Trump supporters now have their eye open, right? But maybe they haven't gone deep into it. And then the Bernie supporters are like, they just want to forget it because it hurts, I guess.
Yeah, that's part of it too. It's psychological. It hurts for them to think about how Bernie was cheated, and he didn't do anything about it. It's that part. Like, he completely had 2 opportunities to do something about it, especially in 2016, and he didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And we talk about how it should have been the Bernie supporters who were in the Capitol. And imagine if Bernie had said, yes, let's protest at the Capitol. And now they were persecuting leftists for inciting violence and an insurrection. If we take this whole thing to being as Trump is responsible for the actions of a few people, we're never going to be able to protest anything ever again. It's always going to come back on the left. And I think that's something that they need to look at. It's crazy that the right is opening their eyes more to election fraud than these progressives, because these progressives saw what happened to Bernie, but it was because Donald Trump. Yeah. It was Donald Trump, and they hated Donald Trump so much that a lot of them were made to forget. Not all of them, but the vast majority of the Bernie contingent is like, no, that's a right-wing talking point. That's different. Bernie was cheated, but only Bernie. Nobody else has ever in the history of this country had a rigged election, which is completely ludicrous. And it's really just how they're dealing with the situation, the mentality and stuff. And
it seems like the right is more focused on the elites, and the left is more focused on people and each other, people who think differently than them. For some reason, it's
that's not the left, though.
Well,
again,
not the left, the
political
left. Because a lot of people are like, oh well, Bernie Sanders lost to Joe Biden. They really believe it, and they're like, people are dumb. They would vote for Biden because they're afraid of socialism.
And I have to say that, Pasta, because I get frustrated when I get pushed as being part of the left that
political
doesn't
left,
question, because we're actually more of us, like a lot of people are sick and tired of what they're doing, and that's what we're going to be talking about in the next section.
Yeah, and I mean, we say this because we understand, and we know a lot of these activists that were out there in the streets and were pushing for Bernie, and they've moved on after the election rather than looking at the mechanisms and stuff. Where I think a lot of Republicans are looking at the elitist or whoever's running stuff, and they're focused on them, and I think that's why they've taken to election integrity too as well.
But they also blame the ghost of Hugo Chavez, and they also blame China and the commie Soviet Union.
Absolutely.
So
and immigrants. It's
immigrants
too.
Yeah,
they blame immigrants.
It's good to point that out too, because it's not like we're saying the Republicans are perfect in any way, shape, or form, and I want to make sure to point that out. I won't vote for either a Democrat or Republican, because that would be hypocritical of me. I'm telling you, the duopoly is dead. Yeah. So whether it's a Republican or a Democrat,
well, it's more like this populist right Trumpers that are kind of demanding their legislations ask for actual audits in like Arizona, in Georgia, and all around, whereas if the Bernie people kind of just let it go, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they just let it go rather than saying, hey, listen, no, we're going to force the legislative body over here in California that was all Democrat to show us their work. We're going to get a third-party independent to make sure that Bernie Sanders did lose fairly. They never did that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because if they did do that, and once again, we talk about, especially in 2016, I think Bernie was cheated more in 2020 because I don't believe that Joe Biden was even half the candidate as far as popularity goes than Hillary Clinton was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just imagine, and we saw these numbers that were coming in. It's like there's something wrong going on.
Yep.
Something really, really wrong is going here. The day before Super Tuesday in California, that's when Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg, who was in second place, announced they were dropping out and supporting Joe Biden. Well, we know that 90% of those freaking mail-in ballots had already come in, so that people like, did they have the what's the word? The foresight? Mm-hmm. Not the hindsight, the foresight to say, oh, we know that all these candidates are going to drop out, because let me tell you something, they got a lot more votes in these other states, Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg, than they did in California. So we knew something was going on, whether it either be ballot clustering or stuffing or changing the numbers in the back end. We saw it. It was so simple. It's like something's wrong over here. There's no way Joe Biden was polling at 8%, got up to 28%. It's just not happening just like that. Especially when there was a lot of mail-in ballots. Cultist Demon, thank you so much. We have to clean house, y'all. We have folks among our ranks spouting nonsense about China, saying that it's fascist. This is a huge litmus test for me. People's stance on China.
Yep.
China is far from perfect, but there's a lot of propaganda out there, and we need to educate our friends and allies
on getting
China.
Danny
Haifong back on.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I'm with you there too as well.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that more. We're going to get Danny Haifong on the show and stuff like that. We never take responsibility for our imperialist. Mm-hmm. So anytime you hear anybody say the Uyghurs, tell them to shut up.
Show them the meme.
It's just like Operation Mongoose. That's where we were. 62 people watching on the Rokfin. T-Can is watching. Thank you so much, T-Can, for the super rate. It's always appreciated on the couch. Carrie Mark says, deny, deny, deny until the sheepless think it's the truth. And that is the truth. Just keep denying. Tell people they're crazy. Tell them they need to stop. Tell them they're a QAnoner for questioning the elections until they don't do it anymore. Bulls on Parade. Great song, fan by one of my favorite bands back in the days. Put your finger on the people of the... Put your finger to the people holding the chains, not to the people in them... Not the people in them with you. I got up really early this morning, ladies and gentlemen. I did an episode of Crosstalk. I'm a little tired. I'm sorry. Trying to hang on, trying to read it good. 63 people watching, 279 on YouTube. Gone over to the Rokfin, ROKFIN. Fam, you need to take it away and take the microphone away from me, because I am stuttering all over the place. Stop. But thank you. Love you.
So I wanted to talk about why the left must stop supporting Democrats, because in order to progress and actually progress and advance, they absolutely need to leave any sort of allegiance with the Democratic Party, because we're seeing a lot of these Democratic Party stooges who call themselves leftists make videos about how it's okay to be like a communist and be a leftist and all these things. And it's very contradictory. It's not, I mean, yes, you can work with people of all kinds. That's not what we're saying. But to work with people, to put them back into the same mechanism that has killed you is completely, it doesn't make any logical sense. We've come to this turning point where we can no longer afford to push the same tired of tactics that we've tried before. I mean, the same thing. Oh, we have an inside-outside strategy. The problem is that the people who say that are only focused on the inside strategy. They never actually go out and help build third-party structures, or they just want to wait until it's all said and done for them to come in and do it. And they actually don't talk about direct actions. They kind of like put it on the back burner, like, well, what can AOC do? I mean, they're just going to knock it down. And it's like, no. You have to understand. You have to use your power as a legislator and the power of the people that are with you. Because right now, more than ever, people are looking for somebody to lead them into something. And there is an obvious divide between those of us who actually want a completely different system and those of us who want to reform the system that is irreformable. And it's basically a death cult that we're living in, right? So I think the debate is over. And so Caitlin Johnstone posted, the facts are in and the debate is settled. Those who claim the Democratic Party can be used to move the United States towards health were wrong. The first step to escaping a burning building is to stop pushing on the fake emergency exit door that's been painted on the wall.
Wow.
So, exactly. In order to move forward, you have to stop lying to people and telling them that they can reform the Democratic Party, like that it can work within the system, that it's okay to be, call yourself a Marxist or a commie or an anti-imperialist and all these things, and continue voting for warmongers and continue voting for the death cult that is a Democratic Party, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So
I don't know, fam. I saw a TikTok the other day that says that me in the Democratic Party pushing and passing progressive legislation. I mean, I'd like to see some of that because we haven't seen anything since we started this whole experiment, this inside, outside type of thing. And isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results? Yeah.
And so another tweet I wanted to point out that shows this is from Sarcasm Stardust. Y'all been reforming the party for 5 years. And even longer than that, to be honest. They've only gotten worse. Continuing to pretend we can accomplish anything from the inside is beyond ridiculous at this point. And it's been longer than that, because that's only how long the Bernie Sanders supporters and these progressives in that sector have been trying to reform the party. Before that, there were others, and others before that. So this is just one nodule in the wave that we're seeing right now. It's not the whole thing. Like, progressives and outsiders have been trying to work within the system for a very long time, to no avail. We have nothing to show for it. Norway, I think, approved healthcare for all in their country in like the early 1900s. And we can't even get to anything remotely close to that. We're going to get minimum wage of $15 an hour. Not even. Now, the Republicans are offering 10. The counter offer is 11 by 2025 of a minimum wage, right? So we have to start thinking in terms of, what the hell are you going to do? Because they're not just going to give it to you. You have to demand this, right? And why do we have to leave the Democratic Party? Because they do shit like this, fam. The Biden defense pick, General Lloyd Austin, now this is past tense, because if you look at the date of this, he got $1.7 million from Raytheon's role. Like, he was given a goodbye present of $1.7 million from Raytheon. Now, if you look at the date, this is about a month before he actually was able to convince Joe Biden to put millions of dollars towards the defense industry and defense manufacturers. And that's in the following article, Johnny, if you want to show them that, because this is what I have an issue with. New boss, same as the old boss. After vowing no more blank checks for Trump's favorite dictator, Biden seeks $200 million arms sales to Egypt. Now, $200 million in arms sales to Egypt, that's just one facet. We know they gave money to Chile. We know they gave money to other sectors of the defense industry. And we know that they're backing coups.
Yeah.
But, this is again like how Biden was saying, we're going to stop giving the Saudis the weapons to continue hurting Yemenis for offense, but there's
defense.
For defense, they're still going to do it. Like, this is what I mean. They double speak. They give you superficial, platitudes like, oh yeah, we're doing this. But if you look at the fine print, they're not doing what they're saying. In fact, they have backtracked from everything, and they're going to, because this is a conflict of interest. What the hell do you think is going to happen when you put the guy who was on the board of Raytheon in charge? What do you think is going to freaking happen?
Yeah.
Like this shouldn't be a thing. This doesn't happen in other places.
Yeah. And I got to say something that, like, the whole double talk, hypocritical talk about this whole Yemen thing too as well. We're not talking about just Egypt. Once again, it's like we're going to stop for offensive measures in Yemen, but we'll give money and missiles and weapons to defend yourself. Well, we know what defense looks like.
Yeah.
Israel does it all the time when they fly to Damascus for defense in Syria. It's that George Bush kind of defense. We got to bomb them over there before they bomb us over here. So it's like, it's this whole, we're arresting them before they commit the crime and stuff like that. And let me tell you something. Joe Biden was essential to actually supplying the Saudis weapons to start that war in Yemen. People don't realize that back in the Obama administration. So now you want to count on him to stop it? And it's not going to stop. And in fact, they said since he's taken office, there's been more bombing in Yemen. So we just got to double talk once again. It's the defensive role, fam. We got to bomb them over there before they bomb us over here.
Exactly.
And it's not just the Republicans, it's the Democrats that do it as well.
And so there is no left in the Democratic Party.
Nope.
Like none whatsoever, right? And so there's a video that I wanted to show here by a non-voting felon who is pretty much a response to the various hacks that have come, to attack those of us who are like, no, we need to stop supporting these warmongers, these Democrats, and people who pretty much give them the weaponry to continue doing what they're doing. If you are supporting the Democratic Party to sort of get to some sort of progressive end on a federal level and even on a congressional level, which has to deal with, not just domestic policy, but foreign policy, you're supporting a death cult. We're never going to get there through those mechanisms. It's just, we've tried it before. It hasn't worked. And so here's what he says, where he's talking about there's no such thing as a halfway leftist.
Yo, there is no such thing as a halfway leftist. You can't call yourself a communist, can't call yourself a socialist, can't call yourself a leftist if you're supporting the Democrat Party. If you support Democrat candidates that endorse candidates like Biden, who are funded by 131 billionaires, you are not a leftist. You are basically supporting rich people running this country, controlling your life, your family's life, and your neighbors' lives. There is nothing left about that. Get that through your skull. There is not one thing left about you voting that way. Yo, there is no.
I like that, fam. It's funny too because we talk about this all the time. There's nothing leftist about this and stuff, And all these billionaires that gave money to Joe Biden, and we said this before too as well. I've got myself in hot water as soon as Biden looked like he was clear to get the nomination. I said they picked the one guy who's worse than Trump. And how do you make this worse? Then they added Kamala Harris. But once again, the billionaires, Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, big tech, big pharma gave more money to Biden than they did Donald Trump. And he's an awful imperialist. And we said his foreign policy is going to be even worse than Donald Trump. And were we wrong? Were we wrong? And that's what happens when you take a Secretary of Defense and you appoint him. But then all of a sudden the establishment and the Democratic media and all this other thing says, well, he's the first person of color we've appointed out there. They use the identity politics and then you jump on it. But yet he's Raytheon. He was on the board of directors and he's selling bombs. It's like, come on, guys. It's not going to make the bombing any better. So, I mean, it's just terrible the way they're doing these things. And
now brown and black people can be happy they're at least getting bombed by a black man. That's what the liberals are basically saying. Like, and Fred Hampton warned us about a black imperialist. First it was Obama, and now we have what? We have Harris, we have Austin, we have all these people that are coming in. Of course, they're very diverse, but that falls second to the fact that they're engaging in the same type of a deathly foreign policy to a lot of people. They're engaging in white supremacy. That's what it is. Imperialism is white supremacy. And if you want to defeat white supremacy, it doesn't just stop at our borders.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of hypocrisy in that, especially in the progressive movement, who completely just discounts any sort of foreign policy.
And what can be more racist than going around bombing people, indigenous people in their own homeland? We're talking about women, children, little kids. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And the sanctions and stuff. It's a death cult, especially our imperialism. So,
and so one of the reasons that like we have an issue on the left is because people like Hassan Piker, who is the nephew of Cenk Uygur, promotes this freaking neo-McCarthyism, right? They promote this neo-McCarthyism. All of the TYT, all of the Majority Report. We saw Emma talk about what we're going to talk about, the sports guy who supports Navalny. Yeah. But he said this is in regard to what this video by this guy. All he does is clip videos of people who are actually aware of foreign policy and try to spin them. And he said Matt Taibbi claims that there's this core of emotional truth animating QAnon conspiracy theory, but the Russia thing doesn't really have a correlation to anything that makes sense. And Aaron Matei agrees, so he made this video criticizing them. And Hassan said, this has to be taken out of context. There's no way a person with a fully developed brain believes this genuinely. There's no real emotional belief that's justified about crystal moms and divorced dads getting duped into thinking Trump is fighting in a deep state pedo ring. First of all, pedophilia is real. Yeah. It's a real thing. Just because QAnon, which was an FBI psyop, made it into something that was more crazy and off the charts, doesn't discount the fact that pedophilia rings exist. It doesn't discount the fact that Epstein was one of these people that had obvious and proven connections to all these leaders. So saying that isn't QAnon, you dumbass. Like, I don't understand what else to call you when you're like completely ignoring the fact that Epstein was literally offed by intelligence for knowing too much on all these powerful people, number one. Number two, the QAnon is an FBI psyop. Russiagate was proven by completely just disparaged, right? By actual facts. It was backed by the supposed 17 intelligence agencies that have been proven to lie to the American people. And then after it was debunked, people are still these politicians, the establishment is still using this as if it's still true when it's been debunked like countless times by numerous people. Yeah. And they use this blue QAnon. They use this to pretty much dismiss any sort of criticism of U.S. foreign policy, any sort of criticism of how of the neo-McCarthyism that is propped up. They use it to dismiss actual truth and to smear journalists like Julian Assange in order to get their state propaganda narrative through. And by taking this and criticizing people that are pointing this out, you're basically being used to spread that state propaganda narrative. Yeah. So let's just hear what some of what was said, so you guys can see like he's full of shit. Yeah.
Aaron Matei, right? I mean,
Aaron Matei's not
full of shit. Yeah, but this is Aaron Matei here.
Right now, millions of people are without power in Texas. And just remember, it was 2 years ago that Rachel Maddow went on her show and said the Russians could freeze millions of Americans to death by knocking out their power. So there's nothing under this democratic derangement syndrome that Russia cannot do. And that's why I call it Blue Anon, because if you compare it to QAnon, I mean, QAnon, you can argue on the face of it is crazier, but really there's a lot of parallels. Both of them see this like secret authority manipulating things and, manipulating the country in its own interests. In the case of Blue Anon, it's this deep conspiracy involving pedophiles and the deep state. In the case of Democrats, it's Russian and
Vladimir. You mean in the case of QAnon? You said
sorry. Yes, in the case of QAnon. Yes, sorry. In the case of QAnon, it's the latter. In the case of Blue Anon, it's like Vladimir Putin has the power with his sophisticated troll farms and email hackers, has the power to like elect a president and sow chaos and brainwash millions of Americans into not voting for Hillary and protesting in the streets over whatever issue. So there are a fair amount of parallels, and it's interesting to see that it never ends. It never ends. Even after Trump is gone, it never ends.
I mean, it's funny because QAnon in its specifics is about as crazy as a thing can possibly get. I mean, the explanation is so you would need like a chart this big just to be able to diagram the ostensible plot to it, but the underlying thought is that it's a sort of a coalition of Trumpists who are taking on these elitists who want to take over the rest of society. So there's a core of like emotional truth animating the QAnon theory, which is as stupid as possible. But the Russia thing is amazing because it doesn't really have a correlation to anything that makes any sense anywhere. It feels like, I don't know, or am I wrong?
Well, I totally agree. That's the thing. Democrats, when Trump got elected.
Okay.
Nice hat, fam.
I know, right? It looks like my hat. I like her hat. It's very Russian.
Yes.
Because we love Putin apparently. So look, what I 100% agree with what both Taibbi, especially Taibbi and Aaron said. Like, at the heart of QAnon, the reason it works so well as an FBI psyop, it's because there is, and they admitted in the New York Times article, a cabal of people working against, like in the 1% and in politics in the DC Beltway, working against the American people. That is true, right? The specifics of QAnon are not true, but that's done on purpose, because what it does is make it impossible for people to question that, because now it's a conspiracy theory. And this is the literal layout of the CIA and intelligence agencies into how to dismiss any sort of dissent. The first thing you do is discredit the witness. And how do you do that? Well, you get people to believe in an actual conspiracy theory, so then you can say all of it is conspiracy theory. Yep. But that's what he's talking about. Like, at its foundation, QAnon is based on the fear that people don't trust their government. And they justifiably don't trust their government. And the 1% is screwing them. That is true. And you can't deny that. Whereas Russiagate is based on fear-mongering that some outside force that has nothing to do with your country is the enemy. So it's diverting the attention away from the actual culprits in order to completely avoid any sort of culpability. And that's what they were saying. So they're trying to twist it into saying, oh, you believe QAnon is more believable than Russiagate? Ha ha ha. Like, because they don't understand. They don't want to believe that, yes, we are fighting the 1%, that we are fighting the oligarchy, and there are people that are working against us. Yeah. It's not it's not like a cabal of three guys, like in like a evil cartoon where they're just like pushing buttons and they're like, here's the end of the world. It's not like that. But the deep state is real. These intelligence agencies and what they're doing are real.
I mean, I don't really got much to say on that. That's awesome. I mean, really, we have to clip that up, because that's talking about what they do. They take a real conspiracy or something that's really happened and they blow it out of proportion, so that if you do believe in that, you're totally like ousted as somebody who's stupid, crazy, right, and believes in fairy tales and stuff. And they're really good at doing this. The CIA, the FBI, the deep state, all the people who are in control of things. So, right. I mean, I was about to say F freaking A, Fiorella. Like from The Big Short when he goes, fucking A, Jared, and you're like, shut the hell up, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, what you just said there is a lot of people have to understand that. That's what they did with QAnon. There were a lot of truths in there and stuff like that. There are a lot of connections with people from the 1% and the elitists who've had connections to Jeffrey Epstein. And you can't deny that and stuff, but they did. They pulled you in and they made it so just like, non-believable, and they started talking about adrenochrome and the Uyghurs are being made to manufacture this product and all this shit that is just like so over the top and off the wall that if you believe in any part of it, you believe in all of it. And that's why they look at you and point the finger and say you're crazy.
100%. That's exactly their
great explanation. Fam.
That's their agenda. That's
why she's the fam. Everybody
recipe.
Fam.
So. AOC, and this is why this is where I differ with some of my friends who think like there's still a way to work within the party. And here's AOC, and a lot of people were like, oh, thank you, AOC, for pointing this out. And I'm done with that. I'm so done with thanking politicians for doing the basic bare minimum of pointing something that's obvious out on Twitter. Yeah. She said, regarding what's happening with ICE and how Biden is going back on his promise, this is not okay, never has been okay, never will be okay, no matter the administration or party. Sorry. And this is talking the Washington Post article, first migrant facility for children opens under Biden. AOC did push Biden did push progressives to vote for Biden. It did say, well, we have to, vote for the lesser of evils because blah, blah, blah. We can work with Biden, but Trump is a racist and he's putting kids in cages. She did the whole thing. And she said, our immigration system is built on a carceral framework. It's no accident that challenging how we approach both these issues are considered controversial stances. They require reimagining our relationship to each other and challenging common assumptions we take for granted. Of course, it's only 2 months into this administration, and our fraught, unjust immigration system will not transform that time. In that time, that's why bold imagination is so imped. DHS should. Oh, important.
It's not imped.
No, it's an imp. DHS shouldn't exist. Agencies should be reorganized. ICE gotta go. Ban for profit detention. Create climate refugee status and more.
This is so crap. This is so full of shit. She is so full of shit sometimes. You know what I'm saying? He causes the problems of migration. You want to just ignore that altogether,
right.
And then you want to say, oh, it's the system, it's the framework of the system. It's kind of like taking some of the emphasis off of Joe Biden and saying it's this whole other thing, not just Joe Biden. Like he almost has no choice but to do this shit.
Right.
It's such a crock of shit. No, you voted for an imperialist who caused these problems. You voted for the most regime change king candidate out there.
For 48 years, Joe Biden has been for every single war.
Almost every single war.
And this is where AOC either purposefully ignores foreign policy or does it because it would be political suicide in terms of being part of the Democratic upper echelon, right? Because you cannot ignore how directly involved our foreign policy is with immigration, especially as a Latina, especially as being Puerto Rican, one of the, basic colonies of the United States. How do you completely ignore that aspect as a Latino person that we are the product of imperialism? Like, I don't understand how that completely is missed. And then she says the 2 months thing. Like, it's only 2 months into the administration. We're not going to solve this at this time. No, but this didn't just start. This happened during the Obama administration.
Yeah.
And then we put the guys and all the people who were in charge of immigration during the Obama administration back in charge, using the whole, you have to vote for them because Trump. Now we're seeing Biden go back on every single thing he promised. And your role in this is to be the public relations interference to say, okay, we're going to push back. We're going to say this is wrong in one sentence. And then the other sentence we're going to say, but it's too early. We got to give Biden a chance. It's only 2 months into this administration.
Yeah,
and people are thanking her for saying this.
Yeah,
this is like, I'm so done with it. Like, what am I thanking her for? What is she literally has the capacity to put out legislation. And that's my next point, Jonny, is that I wanted to show what actual solutions, like, I'm not just yelling at AOC. I expect more of her, like I said the other day, but I'm no longer going to thank legislators for stating the obvious on Twitter. And she does this all the time. When she pushed to vote for Biden, legislate, do your job, call a protest to an ICE detention center. Let's not leave until it stops. Continue this until we get all of what people need. Use your 12.5 million people that follow you. Yeah. Okay. I would go there. We would be there. We would cover it. We would encourage everybody to cover it. This is what people not only want, this is what people need, because we're at a tipping point, like I keep saying, and it's completely no longer acceptable to push this incrementalism to say, well, we need to wait for the right moment. What better moment than the shit that we're in right now? We need direct action to yield legislation. This is the part that people forget, that we need direct action to yield legislation. Put out a bill, get your cohorts in the progressive caucus to vote on it, get your core, like all of the squad, and then get the people to help you, because that will push politicians. That will pressure them to do something, anything to get shit done. When they don't feel the pressure from the public because they can get away with it, then what happens? Yeah. Nothing fucking changes.
Yeah, but it's too late, fam, because let's be honest, she already supported him. She already propped him up. Know what I'm saying?
But
the Obama Biden administration deported twice as many people as the Trump administration
Yeah.
did. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you have that information alone, and the number one cause of migration is what? You know, I'm saying it's war. So it's like you already did this. You already stepped over the line anyways.
Yeah, but
and
if she
stuff,
did
and
that, I would still support her effort. I would still do it because
I
it would
wouldn't
be,
believe it's genuine, though, at this point.
Okay, yeah, but it would still be action. But my point is she's not even doing that.
Yeah.
My point is she's not going to do that.
The
That's what
legislation
I'm
part
saying.
I like, too. Let's write some laws.
Yeah, but those laws won't come into play without public pressure. That's
Absolutely.
my point.
You're absolutely right.
And you know what's funny in that AOC tweet? Actually, there's a bunch of Democrats in there. Like, AOC, why are you like this? Why are you doing this? I like you and Ilhan. There's a bunch of Democrats saying that. Like, oh, why are you criticizing Biden? It's only
Right.
been 2 months. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you have, like,
So
I
stupid.
understand
So dumb.
that there's a bunch of centrists in the Democratic Party that, you know, aren't even where she's at. Because I think she's in America. I think she's left of center in America.
Yeah, but
but that's just a myopic look. You're only looking at Democrats. You're not looking at everybody else. Most people don't even vote. Most people are not affiliated to either party. They only look at the Democrats. Stop. You have to look at all of the people right now suffering and all the things that people want. If you're going to tackle immigration, you also have to tackle working class American issues because nobody right now has money. Like the vast majority of the working class doesn't have money. So if you're not going to talk about their problems, yeah, people aren't going to be on board with you talking about ICE either because it's like, well, what about us? You have to like think in terms of, oh, like the working class is suffering. Let's do things for the working class. Let me put myself out there. Let me walk a walk. Let me go and protest, not just for a photo op on Teen Vogue, but to actually get something done.
Yeah.
Maybe when the cameras aren't on there necessarily, when I don't have a fucking photo shoot set up for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real. That's real. That's what public servants were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I think we've forgotten that that's what they're supposed to do. It's not, oh, wow, if they do that. No, that's what their job
supposed to
is.
do. Yeah. And I really think that all these Democrats complaining on this thread, Johnny, is going to be used by her to manufacture consent to go, look what I'm dealing with. See, I got to deal with the
Right.
moderates, so I got to find a common ground because I will get no help from the establishment because they're even criticizing me for not giving Biden a chance to get things straight. So now I can't go full blown. Let me go protest, use my 12.5 million followers to get out there and get some real change because look what I'm dealing with in my own party. And that's what's going to be used all the time and stuff. You know, I mean, it's just dumb. It's dumb at this point.
And half
you know?
of those people, who knows if they're real accounts?
Yeah.
Because the Democratic Party
It's
buys stock
kabuki
accounts
theater,
all
man.
the time.
It's kabuki theater.
Most people right now need solutions. And if you're just gonna sit there and wait for somebody else to do it or wait for the party leadership to approve, you're never gonna get those solutions because the party leadership doesn't give a shit about people.
Yeah.
And you know that. So what are you doing? What's the point of electing you if you're just gonna sit back and let them handle it?
Yeah.
Like you're delegating everything to
Yeah.
a corrupt leadership. So what's the point of electing people that are just only gonna push back and then pretty much fall in line with what everything's saying?
And also, let's talk about, too, the fact that if you really care about kids getting in cages, you're going to care about the foreign policy that goes with it, right? We talk about this all the time. Well, General Lloyd Austin from Raytheon just approved a deal for an arms deal with
Right.
Joe Biden to Chile,
Yeah.
right? So they could have stopped that if you really. And where were the voices there going? This is going to lead to more migration because we can already see the unrest in the streets in Chile. So now what's going to happen? It's going to turn the country into a hellhole. Gangs are going to pop up. It's going to be craziness over there. A lot of mothers with their child who lost their husbands are going to migrate to the States and stuff. And kids are going to end up in cages. So if you really cared about the underlying problem, fam, right? You would talk out against those issues too as well.
Yeah, there's
Nothing.
zero
Silent crickets.
on
That's
Ecuador, zero on Haiti,
Zero
zero
on
on Chile,
Chile.
zero on any foreign policy. And like the fact, again, that we know more about foreign policy or we talk about it more than somebody who's in charge of legislating our country, I mean, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want about how well we she's dealing with all this stuff. Dude, like, how is it possible that she gets paid all this money to do this job that she is not doing? And it's not just her. It's literally everybody in Congress. It's literally every single one of them. But these are the people that progressives elected to actually push the envelope to as the extreme as it could possibly be. And they're not doing that.
Yeah.
So if they're not doing that, they're failing. Their job wasn't just to be part of the Democratic Party. It was to achieve tangible actions and to make things happen. And they're not doing it. So I don't understand why there's this sort of, just knee-jerk effort to protect the sanctity of the squad. Like, they're not the free freaking like you're not the fucking saints. Like I'm not here to pray to their pedestals. Like they aren't doing their job. It's as simple as that. For progressives, if you actually want change in this whole thing, they're not doing that. And so what's the point of electing progressives into a party? Then that's my whole point. There's no working within that. They become a part of the system and strengthen that machine into a more intersectional type of evil.
Yeah, and I think that the progressives nowadays, the young generation of progressives, have been programmed to play not to lose. They don't play to win. They play not to lose in like a football game. And that's when you lose is when you play not to lose and stuff. So they're always going to come up with, well, yeah, but I understand. But if we don't get AOC in, the other option's going to be way worse. Like they're doing with Gavin Newsom right now.
Right.
Oh, I don't really like Gavin Newsom and stuff like that. But if we take him out of office right now for being corrupt or bad, we're going to get a Republican and that's worse and stuff. It's like, no,
so you're going to okay
playing
corruption?
Not to lose. You're going to okay a corruption. Sooner or later, if you want real change, you're going to have to draw the line in the sand and say no more. That if I'm going to represent you, if I'm going to fight for you, you're going to represent us. And if you don't, I'm not just going to choose you because you're the better of the two options that's going to be worse. Because if you do play that way, you will always lose, and you will never, ever get a candidate that will be progressive and populist and fight for the needs of the people. They're always just going to fight for we got to stop the other guy kind of mentality. So, I mean, it's terrible. Fam, let's do the time warp.
So... No.
Why?
Because I had to do the time warp like 50 million times in this dance marathon I was a part of. So shut up about Neera Tanden is what I said. Her fucking tweets, because all these people are so focused on her mean tweets, which were awful. But that's not the point. It's about her foreign policy. Her comments on Libya paying us for their oil. Her organization with Wall Street money. I mean, it was funded heavily by Wall Street and warmongers. She's the elite rot of the establishment we must defeat. Sanders voting for her will be the final end of his movement. Hashtag reject Neera Tanden. We needed to reject Neera Tanden. It looks like Republicans actually led the way in, and Joe Manchin, which is pretty much a Republican.
They delayed the hearing, by the way, fam. I don't know if you heard about that breaking news this morning. They delayed the hearing.
Right.
Like, the votes.
They're pushing. Biden is still pushing for her, no matter what. AOC hasn't said a word about Neera Tanden. That's a whole other thing, right? Like, and that's paying attention to policy, what she's done, her connections to Wall Street. Like, hasn't said anything about that. And so the fact is that, like, she is so disliked that even Republicans and people like Joe Manchin, for whatever stupid reasons they may have, aren't supporting her, right? So it's like this crazy, crazy situation right now that we have, and we live in a fucking cartoon because we have to rely on these people who are like centrist, moderate, like not even, they're like pretty much all like on the right, saying Neera Tanden's awful. We can't work with her. Yeah. Like, and none of the left is opposing her. Like the progressives. Yeah. What? Like, okay.
I mean, we've seen a lot of unmasking, just as much as unmasking from Force the Vote as we have with the Neera Tanden hearings.
Oh,
Seeing, I believe it was his name, Keith Ellis today, talk about, we need to confirm Neera Tanden. I'm like, and to think for a second that you were a better choice than Tom Perez when you have the same type of mentality and stuff. If you think Neera Tanden deserves to be be confirmed,
especially Keith Ellison, all the shit he was put through, by the DNC to come and say that. Are you serious?
Oh yeah. Well, that's what they do. And let's be honest too as well. The reason why she has to be confirmed or she's being pushed is not because Joe Biden's taking orders from the Clintons there. The Clintons want their girl in there too as well to do their work. It's the establishment. There's a lot of people that they got to go take care of. It's a pay for play kind of system. And Joe Biden was told you have to confirm or get Neera Tanden confirmed. And so that's why we're facing the things we are facing. But, fam, we were also talking about, like, a lot of people look at us and like, how can you hate on the progressives so much? How can you do what you're doing and stuff? Well, we didn't always feel this way, did we? I mean, were we not once out there saying, okay, we're going to try this inside strategy after Bernie Sanders in 2016? We're going to fight whatnot to get out there and stuff like that? So here's a tweet I made 2 years ago. If you're still butthurt about Bernie Sanders for supporting Hillary Rodham Clinton after Philadelphia, you're just not getting it. He didn't quit you. He retreated to fight another day. That day was yesterday with his announcement. And this is when he said he was coming back in the running again. It's time to get back on board. Fam, how far we have fallen.
How far we've progressed.
We've progressed.
This is radicalization, Pasta. You've been radicalized.
Oh my Lord.
You were radicalized by the lefty commie crazy fee. And by just the things that were happening. Yeah. Like in Tulsi too. Like I think, I don't even agree with you now. Like, I understand what you were saying then, and I agreed with you then, because I knew that, he was going to run again. But at the same time, it's like the way that second campaign was run from the start was absolutely
terrible.
Just, like, entirely co-opted. Awful. Right? And so, like, when that started dawning on me, I was like, holy shit, like, this whole thing, like, this is bullshit. Like,
and then he started campaigning for Joe Biden.
And he started campaigning for Joe Biden.
That was it for me. It was like, oh, you're campaigning for Joe Biden. You're not contesting the elections. I want my donations back. I made that tweet. When he left, when he was,
when it was for me
running.
The end for me was like, wow. When I was so pissed off is the fact that he wouldn't do for Tulsi what he did for Martin O'Malley. The fact that he fought out for Martin O'Malley to get on the stage because he had won a delegate and said Martin O'Malley deserved the right to be there. And both him and Joe just ignored the fact that she won her 2 delegates and deserved the right to be there. They wanted to change the rules. That was like, wow.
That was like a strategy, like stay away from Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, yeah.
She is blah, blah, blah.
The Center for American Progress was in that campaign, as we know.
Exactly. And they hated her. And they hated her.
Yep.
Like, she was one of the ones that was, like, absolutely just despised by the DNC Beltway. I mean, she was, like, hated by them. And that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people liked her, because she dealt with foreign policy, the national security state, and even election integrity, things that Bernie Sanders refused to deal with. And that's why we kept saying Tulsi and Bernie together would have been like what the others lacked, and sort of like bridging the more libertarian sort of thinking with the more Dem stock thinking. But that's not what that happened. Like, and that destroyed, I think, any chance of validity in Bernie Sanders' campaign, because they were trying to align him with Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
This whole group of progressives were trying to align him with Elizabeth Warren, who became instrumental in his demise, like entirely instrumental.
Yeah.
So, how much have we changed? We've changed a lot. And I think it's, like, if I look back in 2016 and 2015, how, like, I went from liking Elizabeth Warren to really just hating her by the end of 2016, and, like, Hillary Clinton, all these things that came out that with WikiLeaks, that I was like, wow, like, I didn't like her, but then that was, like, amplified times 10 when it came to that. And then what it happened to now with being so invested in Bernie Sanders in the campaign, and seeing how corrupted it got and how infiltrated and co-opted the whole movement has gone. Like, if you're not progressing and changing because things are happening, and you're like, wow, I have new information now, so I'm going to acknowledge that new information and change the fact that, okay, now I have this new information, so I can reassess my view on things. If you're not doing that, then there's a problem with you like having this cognitive dissonance, because you're just stuck on, let's remember about a year ago when Bernie Sanders won Nevada. Let's think about happy times. Let's ignore what's happening right now in this reality, because I can't deal with the fact that Bernie Sanders didn't fight the way he should have, that Bernie Sanders and his whole movement got co-opted by the establishment. I can't deal with that. So I'm just gonna talk about Bernie memes, Bernie's mittens, and all these things, and forget the fact that he voted for Avril Haines and Lloyd Austin Green and Anthony Blinken, that he's been very much pushing the Russia phobia narrative, even with Navalny and all these things. Like, let's forget all that. Let's completely ignore the fact that, he hasn't spoken out for Julian Assange.
I was just about to say that. The fact that he pushed that, kicked that can down the road for him, he wouldn't mention Julian Assange, you know what I'm saying? And or Snowden or a pardon for them. That was totally disgusting, because he was a different candidate in 2016 than he was in 2020. Now, don't get me wrong, the first town hall he had, I remember him in 2020, that is, the first town hall he had, I remember him speaking, and he started speaking about Donald Trump, and he actually stopped and he went, and then he started talking about what he was going to do. And I'm like, okay, we're going to get this vintage Bernie kind of back. He's talking to people that, supported Trump down the road, why they support him. He acknowledged it. He was a lot about the economics and the inequality. And he got away from that, fam.
Yeah.
He just went completely away from that. And
he was told by the people who were surrounding him, including keeping Jeff Weber around, like, oh, no, you can't do that. Like, no, we're going after, and we learned this after, right? We're going to go after these centrists. We're going to kind of try to court these Democrats to like you better, Bernie, because we need to court them to win. When that wasn't the right strategy. The right strategy would have been to court independents and non-voters who don't believe in the system, which is the vast majority of people. They just don't tell you because they want to stay out of politics because they're so turned off by it. That's the vast majority of Americans. When you're not courting them and you're just focusing on fucking Democrats, then you're never going to win because those people are going to continue to support the establishment. That's it.
Yeah, and it just seems so odd that he just went away from his true base, it seems. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that he just, wow, I mean, what a different candidate. We would hear Gloria Jones all the time say, we want the 1980s Bernie Sanders, come on, that it's one big aisle. And then all of a sudden he just got more like, okay, Donald Trump is the most racist, sexist president of all time. Go vote for Joe Biden. I mean, come on. It was sad. And I hate to talk about it. And I think people should leave the Bernie Sanders kind of whole mentality behind. Stop wearing his shirt. Stop trying to say that you're be about the party of Bernie Sanders. Be your own self now. Develop from that. You know what I'm saying? We take the good parts of the progressive parts. Yeah, Bernie Sanders started us off on this whole trip, but he's obviously not coming with us. He decided to stay at the last stop, and we got to move on. We can't continue to talk about him and can't continue to say like he's the leader of this movement when he clearly is not, and he's kind of sheep-herded people back into the Democratic Party.
I mean, and I don't even care if you talk about him. I just think you need to be honest with stop this whole this mourning process has already you're still on it, I guess, but get off of it eventually because if you're just gonna reminiscence on Nevada without talking about what happened, why he's not the nominee, why he wasn't the nominee, why he's not president right now, why we have Joe Biden, then you're ignoring the whole election fraud. You're ignoring this whole thing that we don't have a fair democratic system because you don't want to believe in that. And that's something that you need to come to terms with. It's something that I can't help people with. People have to do that on their own. There's nothing you can do to tell people this is what happened. This whole thing has been rigged. If people's votes had been counted in 2016 the way it should have been, none of this would have happened. We would live in an alternate reality. Who knows? I mean, if we want to get really metaphysical, there is a reality where that is happening. We are in the shit timeline, and this is what we're dealing with. And we do live in a fucking cartoon. So,
oh, gee, Fee, I'm gonna read some Super Rays. Okay, that was my Morty. Different realities. Eddie Villegas.
That was a really bad Morty. I was confused.
Gee, Rick. Eddie Villegas. The Convo Couch received a tip from Eddie Villegas. Thank you, Eddie. By the way, 74 people watching on Rokfin. We got a couple hundred on YouTube. Get on over to the Rokfin. ROKFIN. Sign up on your FM dial. Embald Fate.
I hate that you say that.
Embald Fate. I sent you an email. Please reply back. In my opinion, there's a worse or just as bad immigration crisis going on caused by Biden. It's in Libya, where they used to be the strongest African nation, now has a slave market, and people drowning in the Mediterranean to leave. Biden is a white supremacist, and Obama is a puppet. How come the squad won't talk about this immigration crisis? Because it's their party leadership and they are part of the Democratic apparatus.
And because they don't talk about that, they're not going to be against Nira.
Yeah. Angel Santos. Thank you so much, Angel Santos. Left us a Super Ray fam. That was my soccer announcement voice. Alex Cohen, without the H. Integrity like you and your team. T-Fee. Is that thanks, Fee? I guess.
Yeah.
Is that what T means? They give it a Super Ray, my man. Gong girl, gong. Hey, I managed to catch you live. Keep spitting fire. I love watching the libs jump around like the annoying gnats they are. Free Assange. Thank you, Gong girl.
That's hilarious.
They are annoying gnats. They're all over the place and we can't get rid of them. They won't go away. Katie and Nick. I love when it's two people. Katie and Nick. Thank you for the Super Ray. We have 73 people watching on the Rokfin. Carrie Mark. Bernie left us first. The end. A fractured fairy tale. It is. Listen, it was something hard to deal with, and I often kind of think about when Bernie leaves this place, how will he be remembered? How will I feel? How will I react? I remember when Bernie dropped out in 2016. Fam, I was heartbroken. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I was like, oh, wait, this can't be it. We have to do something. I mean, I was so emotionally torn. Now it's like, good riddance, bro. Gone. See ya. Peace. And the worst thing that Bernie Sanders ever did in my mind was never contest these elections. We talk about them. Yeah. They said in the court that they can go in the back room full of smoke and pick whoever we want to pick. that was the time right there to plant our flags. And I knew plenty of people who came over to Tulsi simply for that one reason alone, that he didn't stick up for elections when he was clearly cheated. And we should have used it right then to talk about the proprietary software, right then to talk about the chain of custody, right then to have audits in our elections, open up the books, and we would have saw all this shit.
There would have been a precedent for what is even happening now. Like, let's say even if everything else went the same, it would have had more ground to stand on with what happened to him in 2020 and then subsequently with the whole Trump-Biden thing. But because that didn't happen, like they can just be like, oh, well, it was just Bernie, and they don't know the ins and outs of the election, so they can't really, they can just dismiss it. And so all these things that happen, I think, it's like the meme where in the beginning we were like so idealistic and so like full of hope. And it was like the Grease meme where it was like we were in the car and we were like, and then it was like the Pulp Fiction one where it's like you're ready to, you're bloody and you're fucking, you're done with it. You're just done. Like, I mean, we're at that point, and people aren't going to do this. I think a large segment of us aren't going to put up with it anymore, and that's why we're getting attacked, because we see the writing on the wall. We see what's going on. We see that there's no way to go back, and so we're not going to shut up about it. So people are going to come and continue attacking and continue attacking and continue attacking, because that's all they can do. They don't want to see what's really happening because it's too hurtful. It's too painful. It's too awful to just, to continue reminiscing. It's just easier to continue to pretend like, oh, we could have had Bernie. We could have had Bernie. Well, why didn't we have Bernie?
Yeah.
Why didn't we have Bernie? That is what you have to ask yourself and answer your question. Why?
Yeah. Well, a lot has to do, too, with Bernie having to stick up and fight for himself. He didn't want to do it for whatever reason. A lot of people thought he lacked the political will, but at this moment in time, it almost seemed like it was a design playbook. And now he's the one being vocal, like he was calling out Trump's lawyers, calling out them. I don't want to say calling them out, but yelling at them about the election. It's like, come on, Bernie, at what point right now? I mean, how far do you have to fall away from the people before you're completely just ostracized and canceled? Mona Love said, by the way, yo, I'm working right now, but I just wanted to drop by and show y'all some love. Keep up the amazing work.
Can you send me the link?
Love you guys. And OG North American Ape, who's over from YouTube. Did you guys notice that both Ilhan and AOC refused to even call out the Biden administration by name in the regards to the kids in a Steel Fund Zone matter? I don't know what that means. Maybe I read it wrong. They just vaguely said this isn't acceptable under any administration. Nah, I need that same energy y'all had when it came to the GOP. And that's true, North American Ape, because, I mean, how can you call out one administration and not the other? And like I said, the cause of this has always been also on the hands of the Democratic Party establishment apparatus, because it was Joe Biden, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and those who forced these coups in these the global South to have these people migrate here. Now, no, not taking anything off of Donald Trump when it came to his policies south of the border. He was awful. That's why we say he had racist policies, by continuing to do the same thing in Venezuela, by continuing to do the same thing in the North Triangle, by supporting these right-wing awful governments like in Salvador and Ecuador. You know what I'm saying? Like all these areas where it's just awful. And Donald Trump was just there too. He doubled down. He hired the same jerk-offs, Elliot Abrams and all these other people that really were just awful when it came to the global South. So, I mean, it doesn't make a difference who's in, whether it be the Democrats or the Republican. The foreign policy is still the same, and that's something we need to address. And a lot of progressives need to start putting in their artillery. You have to understand foreign policy, because it is our domestic policy, fam. No?
Yeah. Our foreign policy is our domestic policy.
Maria Rinaldi, who hit me up on Twitter today, she asked me if I knew about Italian politics in Italy. I wish I did. I can't even keep track of the American politics going on. She says, I love your show, in all caps. Thank you, Maria. We love you, and we appreciate you for giving us that love. There's 74 people watching, though, so we want more. We want at least 100. There are 400 on the nose watching on YouTube. If you can do us a favor on YouTube, and we love you guys, everybody who's over there, Stupid Enox, Karen M., Revolutionary Dissent, SF Thomas, Larry Fine, Karen, who's one of our people working over there, watching out for us, our moderators, Donnie Posner, John Doe, Martin A., Lima Beam, we remember you, we know you, Taro Man, get over to Rokfin, ROKFIN, Fin. It's not just about monetization and helping us out. It's also about censorship, okay? We don't want our voices censored. We want to be able to say what we want to say. We've built this audience with you guys, and we don't want to hold back or change or take videos down or do any of that shit. And we don't have to worry about that at Rokfin. So Rokfin is kind of a revolution. So join the Rokfin revolution for free, Rokfin. Follow the Convo Couch, and if you have $99 a month to help us out, you'll get our premium content and everybody else's premium content across the board for free. People like Jimmy Dore, Niko House, Graham Elwood, Placone, The Fam, Kim Iversen. There's new people on there, Jackson Hinkle, Frank Analysis, Slow News Day, all those peeps over there. Action for Assange, Misty's new show. What's it called?
Facts on the Ground. Roar Media.
There's even some Republicans who came over, fam.
Really?
Gavin Mario Wax. He's over there. Nobody says Mario with him except when he has an Italian guy talk about it. He has 2 new videos up over there. He's now part of the Rokfin family. So if you want a different opinion that's different than ours, but still somebody who's willing to come on our show and talk about our differences, and we want to continue that dialogue with people who think differently than us. It's kind of something we talked about on Crosstalk this morning. It was like, we have to get in a room. We have to be comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. So I mean, and it's like, is there a chance for a third party? I'm like, I don't know, because nobody wants to talk to each other. In other words, we have this cancel culture that says if you don't believe in what I believe in, then you're canceled. If you don't want to put Medicare for all at the top of your list, then get out of here. And that's the problem why we don't have a third party.
Well, we need to organize too, and that's why we have on our guest here in shortly. Because he's an organizer, and I like to talk to like experienced organizers because they see things a little bit differently than people in media, than people inside the political acumen of DC. Because when you're on the ground, you're doing this work, and you have to talk to people of all kinds. You have to work with people, and especially when you're going after the monster that is Amazon. I mean, this is a David and Goliath story if I've ever seen one, right? This is what we need more of right now, this very moment, more than ever. So let's get to it.
Yeah.
Are we ready? All right, let's introduce our guest. Today we have Chris Smalls. And like I said, Chris Smalls is an organizer, a previous Amazon employee, who is at the center of this case against Amazon. And he's been doing a lot of work on the ground. And thank you for coming in, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's great to have you here, because we also believe that a leader needs to emerge out of labor. I believe that myself too, and I know that everybody here kind of feels the same way. Yeah. And you have been that voice, you have been that face. So thank you for coming on here. We support you 100%.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you have highlighted like the weak foundations in the system where we already had a weak system before the pandemic, but the pandemic intensify that times 10, right? And seeing this organizing against Amazon and workers pushing back is obviously what we need more of. And in November of last year, you filed a class action lawsuit against the state of New York, representing all unprotected essential workers during the pandemic of Amazon. And I just want to know, give us a rundown of what's happened since you filed that case.
Yeah, absolutely. So this actually more than one case that's that's pending against them. The class action lawsuit was my own personal choice with my legal team. Besides the Attorney State General's Office investigation, Letitia James. So the class action lawsuit, I chose to go that route, once again, to represent the mass majority of workers that were infected by COVID-19 throughout the course of the pandemic. And obviously, this discrimination that comes into play because of the smear that, they tried to attempt on me, calling me not smart or articulate after firing me a week after protesting. And also Letitia James' lawsuit, which is the whistleblower claims. That's what she's demanding for: my reinstatement, my back pay, emotional distress, and also, just filing against Amazon as a result of what they tried to do, a countersuit. They sued her, I believe it was last Friday, and she countersued on Tuesday.
Yeah. How are you able to get the Attorney General involved and on your side, and what does that mean for your case against Amazon?
Well, I believe when my story broke last year in March, her and Mayor de Blasio called for an investigation, and she held up to her word. I've been working with her office the entire time, so I kind of knew before the public that it was in play. But I guess Amazon poked a sleeping giant when they decided to sue her first. So that's the result of what happened. But I knew that she was working on it the entire time, and she held up to her word.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They preemptively sued her, and then she sued back, which was crazy. But you also recently went to Bessemer, Alabama, to support Amazon workers and these union organizers. The state laws in Alabama, it's in the South, obviously don't favor unionization. So why is Bessemer so important to you? You said that it was the biggest union push against Amazon.
Absolutely. This is probably the most important union vote since the 1930s. In the 1930s, we had the Great Depression, and we saw economic collapse. And then after that, there was a rise in them unions. So you've seen the same thing in 2020. The course of the pandemic, half of the country facing unemployment or eviction, myself included. 15 million people lost health insurance. A lot of them are essential workers. And Alabama will be, if successful, would be the first building for Amazon in its 27 years of existence to be unionized in American history. So this is probably the most important union vote on the table right now. And I think all the attention need to be focused on that. That's why I was there last week, putting in the work that I could, supporting that union, talking to as many workers as I can.
Yeah.
Just trying to get them to vote yes.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, you're talking about talking to as many workers as you can. One of my old school favorite movies was Hoffa. And I remember him trying to push like the whole union situation, whatnot, and seeing a lot of other employees that they were trying to convince to come along with them were being frightened. Did you kind of come across the same kind of thing? This whole, maybe a pushback from your fellow Amazon workers who are afraid of losing their entire job, in one whole nutshell with this whole pandemic? I mean, I know it's kind of trying times, but they had to be scared. And how did you kind of convince them to come along with this whole, protest?
Well, yeah, they absolutely are intimidated. They seen what happened to me. Obviously, firing me was an intimidation tactic. Firing several activists from Amazon was intimidation tactics. Also, the fact that Amazon throws out a lot of misinformation towards these workers. They tell them that, they're going to be paying a whole bunch of union dues, that they're going to be going on immediate strikes. So once you have these conversations and you tell them otherwise, you tell them the truth and the facts about unions and the pros to having a union and the cons of not having a union, and the fact that I was an Amazon worker for almost 5 years, that relationship right there, it helps sway workers that are on the fence about, whether they should vote yes or no. So that's all I was trying to do. You have to have these conversations. There's no other way you're going to get through the workers unless you have the conversation. And it's not just one, it's over and over and over and over again. So we got to go all the way until the last day, until the ballots close on, I believe it's March 29th.
Nice.
And so you point this out, right? Like many of workers right now in general are overworked, underpaid, and they don't look at political leadership because they're too busy trying to keep their head up. They're too busy trying to feed their families and put food on the table. And how has the U.S. government, though, in your opinion, right, handled this situation with COVID? Would things have been different for workers if they were paid to stay home?
Absolutely. The government should have really took a dive into who's really considered the essential workers. I think in the beginning of the pandemic, they just had like a general list, and they didn't really understand the logistics of what these essential jobs require. And as a result, Amazon workers were compared to the Red Cross, which is just totally false. We're warehouse workers. We're not heroes without a cape. We're being put into the frontline workers with nurses and doctors. And I get it. We're delivering packages and essential goods, but if we're getting sick and dying, how essential are we? So that was the main issue I had with the government calling everybody essential workers when they didn't really decipher who's really essential, who's not. Because now, as a result, you have, 800,000 workers for Amazon. There's so many thousands of workers that have tested positive, and there's no social distancing in those warehouses whatsoever. It's impossible. So it's just a breeding ground. As a result, 11 months later, you're still having workers in that facility or any facility across the nation contracting the virus. There's workers that are still dying. I just had to raise money for a family a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So this is what we're dealing with still. And even the new administration, the Biden administration, needs to do something about who's essential, who's not.
Yeah. Have the conditions in the warehouses changed at all? I mean, has the push to get more safety measures in place done anything? I mean, do we see a difference in what's going on? I know you're saying people are still dying, but are they doing everything they can to help the situation during the pandemic?
So, yeah, I mean, after I obviously was fired, Amazon allegedly spent $4 billion to protect their workers, which they should have been did. But I guess I forced their hand. But it doesn't matter. They can spend all the money they want. If you don't close down the facilities with positive cases, how do you stop the spread? You have to separate the people. The building don't have the virus. It's the people that's bringing it in. Yeah. And they continue to operate as normal and hire on top of that. They hired, almost 200,000 more people. You're cramming 5,000 people, for example, in JFK, 5,000 people go to that building from all 5 boroughs in New York. Including New Jersey. So how do you stop the spread of the virus if you're undiagnosed, you can't get a test, are you asymptomatic? All these factors come into play once again. So it's so many intangibles to deal with that the only thing I was advocating for in the beginning was to close the building down for a minimum 2 weeks for the 14-day incubation period.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but they didn't want to lose those profits.
Yeah,
so because
we're
in a system where it's profits over people, so they're not going to do that. And especially with companies like Amazon, Lyft, Uber, etc., they become so in demand during the pandemic when people are told to stay home and when small businesses are shut down. So you have both workers and the non-corporate sector, the mom and pop shops, the local shops suffering too. Is there a possibility or an alliance going between boycotting Amazon and somehow pushing small businesses and local businesses instead?
Oh, yeah. Every demonstration we have, we always call for the boycott nonstop every single day. Every platform I get on, I tell them, cancel your Prime, stand in solidarity with the workers, support your mom and pop, because they are going out of business. When I went down to Bessemer, Alabama last week, man, that town is a ghost town. All the small businesses are barred up, closed down. There's no opportunity for these workers down there. All the majors are Dollar General, Walmart, and Amazon. That's it. So imagine, with these under the scrutiny that these workers are under, they have no choice but to either work at Amazon or work for, once again, in a right to work state with a state minimum of $7, and it's not really an option for them. So that's the reality of the situation, probably across America right now. With the pandemic, the economic collapse, the small mom and pop businesses going out forever. Capitalism really exposed itself. Capitalism has thrived, and the working class has suffered. And I think enough is enough of that.
Yeah. Well, you're also organizing for workers against Amazon, but you're also standing in solidarity with unionizing all over. I hear a lot of Republicans always talk about, unions are just as bad now as sometimes as the corporations and stuff like that. How does American strengthen its unions to the degree about the way it was back in the old days? From that Hoffa movie when I saw it was all about the Teamsters union, when they loved Jimmy Hoffa because he was such a great union. I mean, how do we get back to that? Because a lot of people do point to the unions being corrupt.
Yeah, I know. Unions sometimes have a bad taste. But I believe if the unions started to once again allow workers to form the unions and support the workers, that'll be a way for unions to thrive. Workers form workplace committees, whether they unionize independently or they get a major union to back them. Either way, I think it's a win-win because workers will have more control in negotiations. They'll feel more involved. They'll feel more comfortable sitting at the table, knowing that there's workers from inside their own internal facilities that's representing the working class. So that's a way. We saw what Google workers did. They formed their own union. So they cut out the middleman. They cut out the NLRB.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. There's several ways that unions could come back. But we also do need the federal government to, have some type of legislative where, unions can form without being busted up the way Amazon is doing right now. So we need Biden to hold up to his campaign promise, which it seems like he's already failing at that. But we need to hold him accountable, saying like, hey, you said that you were raised in a union family, your father, know the story. Now we have a union vote on the table that's important, and he doesn't even want to acknowledge it. So things like that can't happen. That undermines the power of unions. And also when you talk to union leaders, you got to include ones that are not even in there yet. You have to include ones that want to happen, that want to be formed. So that's just some food for thought for the new administration. We need a voice in the White House.
Yeah, and I'll add it to the new administration, right? On a macro level, we're seeing the vast income inequality hit a breaking point. Government inefficiency, distrust is at an all-time high right now. As an organizer, you're looking at things at a local, on the ground level, but this is also a national workers issue. This is happening all over the country to many workers. Hospitality workers have been screwed by this whole pandemic. Independent contractors and retail workers are all facing the same cruel practices by their employees. In addition, many people have been fired and have no protection, so they have no money, they don't have health care, and meanwhile, we don't have a stimulus yet. There's still not a stimulus in this whole time. Is there a chance right now, seeing at how bad things are, to build a general strike movement out of this emerging workers movement that's happening against Amazon?
Absolutely, 100%. It's been overdue for a general strike. It's just that we're in the wrong country. We're in the wrong country right now. It's too divisive. I would love to see a nationwide general strike. It's possible. We all get on the same agenda, but that's one issue we have with the left. Everybody focus on their own individual or local issues. It's hard to get the national calls where you can have these big major organizations come together and form something like a general strike. It would be easy, just think about it. For example, 800,000 Amazon workers nationwide decide to stay home.
Yeah.
That will shake up. That would, just for one day, that would shake up the economy. That would shake up every billionaire in this country. But it's up to us, and I don't know how that's going to be possible, but I know what I've been doing for the last 11 months. I traveled the country, tried to build and tell our stories, get as much support as possible. So possibly one day we'll get enough leverage when I can have 600 to 800,000 workers nationwide. And if Congress say, you're an essential worker, go to work in the middle of a pandemic, we're going to tell them, hell no, we're not going until y'all provide us with the protection and the pay that we deserve.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. We got to build workers' solidarity right now.
I think if we get the truckers, then we really can get if we get the truckers on your side right now and we just stop, we had a guest come on and talk about a wildcat strike. Can you imagine the trucks stopping on the highway right there and just getting out of their truck and walking out and saying, no, we're not doing this. Combine that with the Amazon workers. We can shut this shit down. Chris Smalls, thanks for coming on. You're the leader in labor we've been talking about, and we're glad you came on the show. Tell everybody about your new podcast and where we can find you.
Absolutely. Sure. On Twitter at @shut_down Amazon. No surprise there. My organization at TCOEW, the Congress of Essential Workers. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My podcast, It's a Smalls World, on YouTube every Sunday. Every weekend we have new content coming out.
You're killing me, Smalls. That was an old school saying. You're killing me.
And also, just give us a quick, what is your next step right now with this so we can follow along and watch what you're doing?
Yeah, I was just talking to my team. We're getting ready to have a call tonight. We're probably going to have our 1-year anniversary coming up in Staten Island, JFK, March 30th. Probably going to go back out there and protest. only right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all that you do, Chris. We'll be following along, and we really appreciate you taking things on the ground and pushing this. Best wishes, best of luck. We'll all be there to support you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
Solidarity. Thank you.
Peace.
Wow.
Bam.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we need more of that. I mean, and he said it right. Like, we're in the wrong country because India was able to do it. You know, they do it in other countries, Bolivia. We've seen what happens, and we've seen how people take to the streets, even in Venezuela. We've seen how people take to the streets in other countries, France, when their needs aren't being met. But in America, one of the biggest problems in America is the healthcare factor, though, because a lot of people's healthcare is tied to their job. And it's not just them, it's their kids and their wife or husband or whoever. Yeah. And that is why so many Americans are like, I support you, but I can't leave my job because so many people depend on me as a breadwinner and blah, blah, blah. And so it's like, that's where real mutual aid comes in.
Yeah.
Right? That's where then you have to provide, and this is what happens in other countries, provide some sort of funding for people. Because if the government is failing you, and all these people will talk about, well, the government's too big and it's not doing anything, well, then we have to do it. And that's where this organizing mentality comes in. And you're right. Like, if we get the Amazon workers, then you get the truckers, and then you get the teachers, and then you get every single sector of the economy to say, we're just not going to do this anymore, it will shut it down. That's what we want to see. That's why we get frustrated with people who have this capacity to convince people with their millions of followers, hey, do this. Hey, support this. Like, I want to see AOC supporting more and more and more of this type of thing because she has that following, fam, and that's not happening. Yeah.
Well, you're going to hear, well, she went out when she didn't go for that vote that one day. She went to support the Amazon workers. They're going to say that.
Yeah, $15 an hour. But that's, again, it's like incrementalism, too, because $15 an hour here is not enough to live in California or New York.
Nowhere.
I mean, but it might be in like Utah or the Dakotas, but like, so some people were talking about like minimum wage. No, let's just do like everybody gets a good living wage of like, $50,000. That's a whole other different form of mentality.
Johnny?
Fam, you bring up a good point that the healthcare is tied to the job, right?
Yep. Right.
So that's a great, huge point because that's what Fred Hampton was trying to do. He was trying to do free healthcare.
Yeah.
And he was doing it.
Yeah.
That's why they took him out.
Yep.
That's why they took him out. So maybe the long way would be to somehow start local free healthcare.
Yeah.
Locally, you're gonna get pushback from the pharmaceutical companies, pushback from the whole health insurance, health insurance industrial complex.
Yep.
But maybe that's the slower way. Maybe that's the only way because I don't see national adoption of a general strike happening anytime soon. Especially when you see these Biden supporters on here telling AOC that she's not going.
But the Biden supporters, if you look at in terms of, we got to inform the workers more, but the workers are too busy working. Yeah, the workers are too busy working, but a lot of the Biden supporters, a lot of the Democratic establishment, and a lot of the liberals that are now liberals are not of the same working class. They're like what we would be considered in Marxist terms the petty bourgeois. They're fine because they have their shit taken care of. They're fine. So the only people you're seeing concerned with the whole situation across party ideology are the workers and the small business owners. The problem is a lot of the left ignore small businesses. They're like, when it comes to this Gavin Newsom recall thing, which we should be talking about soon, is like, they don't see them at, there's businesses, so I don't care. It's like, no, they're different than a corporation. Like, that you should care about them because they employ people. And like they are mom and pop. You need to support them. That's why I asked that question, because there needs to be a coalition between the small business owners who are getting screwed by Amazon and the workers of Amazon who are being screwed by Amazon, because they're both losing when they both should be winning. And all the only people benefiting right now, all the Walmart, Amazon, and these big apps, these big corporate apps that take advantage of these, workers that are pretty much disposable to them.
Hashtag your boss is an app. But, also just, we did a story not too long ago, fam, when you were talking about the spies that Amazon was hiring. Don't think for 1 second, though, when they're hiring people, that they don't factor in the fact that who has more to lose. A guy who has a family, whatnot, than a single guy. If you have two equal employees where this guy has a family, whatnot, he's got a lot more to lose, so he's less likely to strike than the single guy who would be like, fuck it, I'm not working under these conditions, and I'm gonna bow out. So they think about that when they hire people. They actually hire people who have more to lose than the person who has less to lose because he's more likely to go strike against you. Then they factor all these things in.
Yeah. Well, it's all about
giant psyop working on
product and profit. So
yeah. I'm good. You do?
Okay. All right.
You want me to read some Super Rays? I'm going to do some Super Rays real quick. OG North American Ape left another tip over there. He says, folks need to accept the reality and stop acting like Bernie didn't bow out to serve the establishment. By the way, I was talking about the kids in cages. If Jen Psaki can say facilities instead of cages, I'm calling them steel fun zones. Then I'm calling them steel fun zones. So in other words, that they change the language. These facilities, now all of a sudden they're facilities.
Right.
When it was Donald Trump, it was kids in cages. Now they're facilities, fam.
Right, exactly. Like they do this and people don't even notice. No, call them what they are. They're like, you call them prisons. It's literally the prison industry, the private prison industry. That's what it is. Like it's the same thing. It's just now it's okay to incarcerate people because they come to this country illegally. And like that whole system needs to be revamped. Yes, and I understand people are like, well, what about us? Well, that's the problem. They're not addressing either your concerns or the concerns, the humanitarian concerns when it comes to immigrants, and they're not addressing the foreign policy that is causing this immigration. You cannot just look at that and not look at that the greater scope of the foreign policy that is causing all of this, right?
Yeah. And Super A contribution from Omar Fernandez.
Jesus Christ.
Omar agrees with me. Agreed, Pasta. He didn't say pasta, but he's agreeing with me. Bernie started it. We need to finish it. He's only one guy. We are the 99%.
That's 100% true. We are the 99%. And remember, the 1% is the enemy right now. The Amazon, the Jeff Bezos, the Walmarts, the Waltons. Those people, they're your enemies. And we need to not forget that. When he's talking about the left, that's the problem. It's like, get your shit together, guys. Stop focusing on the freaking electoral Democratic Party. We need to support people like Chris Smalls that are actually trying to get shit done through direct action. All these people, they're like, yeah, we're all about revolution, and then they turn around and they don't support it when it's right in front of them.
Yeah. Omar Fernandez, hit us up on the Convo Couch at gmail.com. I am sending you a shirt for that Super Ray right there. Let me know your size, and if you want one, male, female, if you want to get it for your girl or something, or anybody else, or yourself, you let me know. I'm sending you out a shirt because we are the 99%. And, like he said, he started it. We need to finish it. Right? And so in other words with this, we have to give Bernie a free pass because he's the one who started this gangster stuff. No. We need to be OG, and we need to finish it, fam. He's not with us anymore. That's it. He's done.
That's why he said, "Not me, us."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was almost like a warning. Telling everybody.
It was a cryptic message, huh?
Shout out to Steve for being in the chat. I don't know what he's saying, but he's probably making fun of pasta because that's what I would be doing.
Well, let me just tell you like this. I'm sick and tired of talking about Bernie Sanders. Right?
And Tom Hartman's Padawan.
Tom Hartman's Padawan. And I'm going to smack you across the head with a giant mackerel if you continue to say Bernie's name. Carrie Mark, thank you for the Super Ray. Shut down the corporations and change will come to our government. $15 an hour is not enough.
I agree, Carrie.
Agreed, Carrie Mark. 100%.
It comes out to like $30,000 a year or less.
Maria Renali, K5. Agree with you 1,000%. We agree with you, Maria. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution. We appreciate it. And we have 80 people watching, 78. Let's get on over there. By the way, I want to say thank you very much to all the new people who joined on our Rokfin. We have about 4 people who just joined up, signed up for an account. We need more. Help us out. You really help us get out there on the streets and get the message out there. You help the Convo Couch be the Convo Couch. And we appreciate that.
So let's get on to this topic and to close out the show because we have an announcement ready at the end of the show. We're going to talk about Twitter censoring the Grayzone, but at the same time, and pushing, of course, Russiagate still and Russian lies. But Keith Olbermann, fam.
Yes.
Keith Olbermann gets away with xenophobia.
Yes. Xenophobic as can be. And really just want to talk about, we don't have a history when it comes to Keith Olbermann, but pretty much this one hockey player named Artemi Panarin, who's a player for the Rangers, New York Rangers. I'm an Islanders fan, by the way. I don't like the Rangers. He's been vocal about his opinions about Putin
Go Barzy.
and supporting Navalny, right? And I've never really been crazy about Panarin because some of the stuff he said has been like, yo, dude, what are you talking about? Like he was saying, oh, United States, they put money into their communities and the communities get to thrive and grow. Unlike in Russia, most of the money goes to Moscow, and that's the difference here. And I'm like, Artemi, shut up and drive about 20 minutes away from the stadium where you play hockey in, and you'll see cities that don't get the funding that they deserve and whatnot. But anyways, him saying that, it kind of put it out there about Navalny. Well, then all of a sudden out of the blue, a Russian website kind of reported that a fact that he beat up an 18-year-old girl in 2011. Okay? Really? Yeah, that's what they're saying. He's saying it's completely false. He's taking some time away from the team until they figure stuff out. And there's been this kind of code. There's a lot of Russian players in the NHL, right? So they're kind of quiet about it. They don't talk about their politics. One of the most famous, Alexander Ovechkin, plays for the Washington Capitals. Very, very close with Putin. Likes Putin. There's been stuff we've been seen. But he refuses to talk about his own country, whatnot, when coming over here. Panarin's been the other way. He's been kind of like an apologist for the Americans, foreign policy, whatnot, and talks about things he likes. So Keith Olbermann, this jerk off, jumped right back in. He says, I gotta say, I lived my entire life with the stain of Russian heritage in my family.
Wow.
I gotta say, I've lived my entire life with the stain of Russian heritage in my family.
Who says that?
That's disgusting.
Wow. Then came the conspiracy to alter the 2016 election. A year later, they hacked my computer. But now they've attacked my boy Panarin, so I'll make it official. Fuck you, Vladimir Putin.
I'm sure Vladimir
You Russian
cares.
scum. Remember this? Let's show what Keith Olbermann once did.
The nation and all of our freedoms hang by a thread, and the military apparatus of this country is about to be handed over to scum who are beholden to scum. Russian scum. Russian scum! Russian scum! Russian scum! Russian scum! Russian scum!
Okay.
And he still has a channel, fam. He still has a Twitter.
What? He still has a channel? Is it monetized?
It's
so
monetized.
He can get away with saying really racist, xenophobic shit. I mean, it's about a group of people. How many Russians died during World War II?
Well, I mean, America says like 10 million. Some people say 20 million. There's reports up to 40 million.
I mean,
Russians died.
This is disgusting, and it's not just, and I never want to see Keith drink vodka, by the way.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to touch vodka. You're not allowed to touch Porsche.
Yeah. Yeah, and this elitist son of a bitch, this millionaire over here, he was also sticking up for Stephen Cohen last week when Portnoy was going after him about the whole GameStop scandal. So you know where this guy lies. You know what I'm saying? You know where his loyalty lies. It's for the establishment. He's always been shilling for the establishment. I used to love this guy as a Sports Center announcer. But the funny thing is, fam, it's a double standard, though, right? So when Aaron Mate, the Grayzone, and Max Blumenthal put some stuff up, what do they get?
Yeah, so this started yesterday, and it was funny because I thought it was a cartoon for a second, but then it turned out it wasn't. So Aaron posted this article, and we're going to kind of like mention it in a minute, about Reuters and the BBC and Bellingcat covering UK foreign-funded programs to weaken Russia with these leaked documents. And you can see these materials may have been obtained through hacking. So now Twitter is accusing the Grayzone and potentially tying them to receiving materials from hacking. Now, what does this remind you guys of? This reminds me of, I don't know, Julian Assange. Julian Assange got accused of hacking through the Espionage Act and through even though he was a journalist that received information from a source, they were trying to tie him to the hacking. They're not talking about the information that was released, whether it was factual or not. They're not doing that either. Here, they're talking about, but it was hacking. So they're not they're not going to deny the fact that this is real. They're just focused on the hacking. Twitter is now doing this. Yeah. And it's very, very dangerous. And I don't think people realize just how dangerous this is.
It's saying you could be xenophobic, fam, if you're on the side of the deep state and who their enemies are, who their geopolitical enemies are. It's okay to be racist then. So
I know, it's just funny because then Max Blumenthal, right, started putting little pictures of things, right? He put this Books interview, Elliot Higgins, people accuse me of working for the CIA, and
once again, these materials,
and then you just click on that, and it's these materials have been obtained through hacking.
May have been obtained through hacking. Yeah.
Under one of Max's tweets, you know, I made the tweet where I was like, this pops up if you try to like it. The big, huge sign on the mobile phone, and I guess on web too, it pops up. These materials may have been obtained through hacking. Find out more. And then once you find out more, it takes you to the distributive hacked materials policy.
They're so
which is
fucking ridiculous.
Nice that we can see it, because when I try to take a screenshot on my phone, it wouldn't let me take a screenshot.
Wow.
And then on the mobile phone, it says, thanks for finding out more. And then you're allowed to tweet it.
Yeah,
They
went to the Senate. They went to, Congress and told them that this is what they're doing when these Democrats were pushing them for more censorship. Yeah. And it's so funny that you'll see the Grayzone. They'll get materials maybe obtained through hacking. Our Action for Assange people, and Poikonen will get QAnon, and we'll always get election stuff.
Yeah.
So, we'll do a story about Chris Smalls and be like, the election has been called by the AP, and they're literally doing this shit all the time. I mean, this is censorship on another level, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to completely discredit us no matter what we say. And there are people who are in our echo chamber, in our bubble, who will take our information and make a decision based on our information. But there are people in the mainstream who are very consumed, don't have a lot of time to going on, and they'll see these notifications, and they'll immediately cancel us and won't even pay any attention to us.
Right.
Because they'll think that we're, once again, either a QAnon or a conspiracy theorist, that we received hacked materials.
From Putin.
Or from Putin. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Somebody said that we were paid by Russia, too. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
That we were a married couple paid by Russia.
Damn, why did I go on RT today, fam? I shouldn't have done that. Putin, where is my check?
Putin, where is his check? Come on.
What is the vodka?
Just pay me a vodka.
Dan Cohen.
Cohen posted he posted these pics of like Epstein with a bunch of people, Clinton, etc. And then he still posted the Grayzone article, and just to show you guys, it's still saying the same thing.
Materials may have been obtained through hacking, fam.
But then there's this one too.
But this one went viral because it was funny.
Yeah.
Because every time you post the artitle, this would come up. This would come up. So it doesn't matter what picture you had there.
Yes.
So he put the Epstein pictures there.
Yep.
And people are like,
Yep.
It was funny.
But this is really interesting, right? And this is why when certain people continue supporting The Intercept, I have to question. Because Dan posted this other tweet as well, saying both of these articles are based on leaked, potentially hacked documents, but only one gets a warning label from Twitter. The double standard is clear. Information exposing the U.S. national security state and its vassals is censored, while information targeting its enemies is not.
Bingo!
And here's the freaking Intercept. The order came through a police automation system in Urumqi, the capital of China's northwest Xinjiang region. And it's talking about the leaked police files detail suffocating surveillance of China's Uyghur minority. Okay, so this is like, the Uyghurs, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you want to read a real article about this stuff, go to Danny Haifong's article that he just wrote for the Grayzone, because he's going to tell you the real information. But when you show us side by side about the leaked files on Reuters, etc., Bellingcat, it literally has these materials have been obtained through hacking. And so the Intercept can get materials that are leaked to them, and it's fine. But it's not because they like the Intercept better necessarily. They like the Intercept better because they're pushing the state narrative.
Yep.
They're pushing the state narrative that, Russia's bad, Russia's imprisoning all these people, when they haven't proven that yet. Yeah. There is they haven't been able to prove that the accusations the United States has been making are valid. And like I said, we're going to have other people on to talk about this more in depth, but the fact is that that's what's happening, right? And like this double standard, we're not making this up. When we post something and it's marked as, this is inaccurate information or blah, 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 it's not necessarily saying that we did anything wrong. It's like we're going against the state narrative and they don't want you to see that. Yep. So that should worry the fuck out of you, because where are we now in the state in America where we cannot seek the truth? When they were trying to hide the Joe Biden Burisma information and what happened with Hunter Biden, the Hunter Biden story, when they took that off Twitter, that should have been like a warning to everybody, like this was going to go bad if Biden won, because they were protecting him and they were protecting his campaign. So if they were going to do that before he was in power, what do you think they're going to do after he attains power?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely. I mean, hit it on the nose, fam. I don't know what to say about that. It's what did you expect at this point? You know what I'm saying? And it's a whole nother level of disgustingness.
Johnny,
right now.
did you want to read that part?
So in addition to that original tweet, right, showing the parallels between the two, not only was the Intercept's report on police surveillance in Xinjiang not censored, Twitter promoted it as important information under its news tab. So there you go.
So
there you go.
I'm not saying, I'm not going to say that the Intercept is mainstream, but it's definitely closing up. Yeah, I mean, they
got rid of any dissenting voice. So.
Glenn Greenwald left. Because he couldn't publish the story in its full capacity.
New, cool, awesome reporters that just recently came over.
I mean,
some new guys coming over there, Johnny.
Look, there's sometimes they provide decent information, but like it still doesn't challenge the national security state. It doesn't challenge the state narrative. So as long as you don't do that, you're fine. But then you're not really telling the full fucking story, are you? Nope. You're really just like, if you're being promoted by Twitter, that's bad for me as an anti-imperialist. That tells me that, okay, you're not giving me the full story, because there's no way Twitter's going to promote you if you're a threat to their big tech, to the national security state.
But you can say Russian scum, a stain on my heritage is this Russian scum, and that's okay, though. Xenophobic AF, and you allow it.
On national TV.
Yeah. Disgusting.
And so just really quickly, so I'm sure the Grayzone's going to do a really great piece on this, but I just wanted to point out what they're talking about is that leaked documents show that Reuters and BBC's involvement in covert UK FCO programs were done to affect a change in attitude and weaken this Russian state influence. And they use this along with Intel contractors and Bellingcat. Bellingcat, that Dmitry guy was praising Bellingcat, which is like, if you praise Bellingcat, you don't understand anything, because they're basically fake news. Just the first paragraph, the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, the FCO, sponsored Reuters and the BBC to conduct a series of covert programs aimed at promoting regime change inside Russia and undermining its government across Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And these leaked documents, and Johnny, you can show the leaked documents so people can go to them and read them. This is a great article, basically showing that the Thomson Reuters Foundations and BBC Action participated in this information warfare campaign at countering Russia, using the same, using like a shadow department within the UK. It's known as the Counter Disinformation and Media Development, or the CDMD. And they organized alongside a collection of intelligence contractors in secret, and simply known as the Consortium. And through this training of these, they trained Russian journalists overseen by Reuters and the British Foreign Office, and they did this whole like attempt to change people's attitude and promote a quote positive impact, and like basically showing that while these MPs were talking about Russia, these same British agents were using the BBC and Reuters. The BBC, by the way, marked Vanessa Beeley, who I want to have on the show very soon, who's in Syria, as like a threat, and they took her off Twitter. She's banned on Twitter for like I don't know how long, because the BBC came after her as well. And so these people are the ones pushing this whole, Russia disinformation. And so it's disgusting. And they had a whistleblower basically tell them that the BBC and Reuters portray themselves as this unimpeachable, impartial, beacon of truth, and the source, and but they're compromised by these leaks now. This is what they do to promote this state narrative. And like I said, this isn't just the U.S. This is the U.S. and their NATO-backed allies in the West. Britain does this too when it comes to the Syrian chemical attacks. They've been attacking journalists, some British journalists who are in Syria, who were talking and exposing these things that were happening. And so you have this war going on between independent media and, of course, the state stenographers, the propagandists who get paid so much money to lie to people, and they're trying to paint us as conspiratorial and say that we're misinformation and say that, this is a hacking and this is Russian or this is QAnon. So that's the battle we're really fighting here, and that's why we need you guys to support us, because then they make shit up and try to silence our voices. It's going to be very soon. This is so dangerous because soon you're not going to have the Grayzone. You're not going to have us. You're not going to have, who knows, they're going to take down Jimmy Dore. They're going to take down everybody that is actually going after the national security state. Slow News Day, all these people that bring on these guests to talk about the Great Reset. I mean, this is a very, very dangerous territory. So we're not just fighting the Democratic establishment. We're fighting their minions, the whole establishment as a whole, like the national security state, the big tech, all of these things. And that's where the war is at. So when you have people like AOC who push censorship, I'm sorry, that's not my ally. She's trying to shut me up, trying to shut all of us up who are telling the truth. And that is extremely dangerous. That is very authoritarian. Yeah. And it's crazy.
Well, Nina Turner disagrees with you that you should be fighting for the squad, and like even Cori Bush, who just got in there, but we don't want to talk about that stuff. But fam, I thought eventually that the cookie would crumble and the wall would fall down the more we exposed the leaks and the stuff that was so false in the whole Russiagate narrative. You know what I'm saying? Kleinsmith, who changed an email to obtain a warrant from the Steele dossier from a guy who was in a bar, who took notes down in a bar drinking vodka, thinking that he actually gave the information to the Steele dossier that was so phony. Yeah. All this stuff has been debunked. It's fallen down, but yet they still push this narrative. And this next part right here is even more disgusting to the fact when you see within the New York Post that they put up that Lee Harvey Oswald ordered to kill JFK by the Soviets, ex-CIA chief claims. Ladies and gentlemen, we have hit the all-time tipping point of shit that has come down. How much more shit can you pile on top? As my cousin Vinny would say, there's more and more shit. I mean, literally, going back, my cousin Vinny. It's a movie. Oh,
I know it's a movie.
How much more shit can we pile to the top, fam?
I know it's a movie. I thought you had an actual cousin Vinny because you're Italian.
Oswald. I know I'm Italian, fam. Everybody knows I'm 66% Southern Italian, but this is just ridiculous now. Okay, this is McCarthyism on steroids, and they're not going to stop. And why? Because if you like, just Carrie Mark said in our chat before when she gave us a super ray, the more you repeat the lie, the more truth it becomes. Yeah. I mean, I had a debate with somebody, and he was a Bernie supporter, strong Bernie supporter, and the argument was voting for Biden to mitigate damage. And the fact is that he said that Russiagate was true because now even Bernie Sanders is repeating the fucking lie.
Yeah. So that's the problem when these progressives start Russiagating, start saying, well, I need to look at more the Julian Assange thing, when they start completely obfuscating, when they what do you mean? Like, how do you not know the basic things? You're in fucking Congress, you're a fucking senator, whatever it is, you should know this. If people who are activists, if people who are us, if Jimmy Dore, if comedians know more about the national security state than you do, what the hell are you doing? What's I don't need you anymore. Yeah. Then let us govern ourselves. Let us take over, because that's the point where people are. It's like, well, what's the use for these people if they're just going to sit there and take our tax dollars? Yeah. To what? To go on vacation and wait till April to give you a fucking stimulus? Yeah. And then they make shit up. First of all, Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Like, let's be real. By
the Russians, fam. And Lee Harvey Oswald.
He was about to meet.
He was killed by the Cubans.
He wanted to work with Cuba. He wanted to work with Russia. He wanted to stop this whole thing. And then he was killed right after. He had meetings set up. Do you really think that they freaking killed? This makes absolutely no sense. And this is where I hate when the right comes in with their also some of their the commies and the USSR. Yeah, they killed Kennedy. Tankies. No, these tankies. No, that's not it either. Oh, Venezuela. Look what Venezuela has done. The ghost of Hugo Chavez. Look, Venezuela's socialism. That's what the progressives are pushing. The progressives aren't pushing socialism. They're pushing neoliberalism, global capitalism. That's what these progressives are pushing. And that's why they're not, when you talk about the left, I do not put me in the same fucking
we have to. I know we have to say the political left.
It's so fucking annoying because I cannot stand that. They're not
left.
They're imperialists. They're global capitalists. They want the same status quo, just more intersectionality. That's it. That's all it is.
So I had a good tweet, fam, when I said the progressives inside Congress are not socialist.
They're liberals. Yeah.
Ooh. That's got a lot of play too as well. And I'm going to say this again too as well. I did a show with Slow News Day. We talked about the Kennedy assassination. Back in the days, back in the 60s, the CIA worked very closely with the Italian mafia, the mob. That's when the mafia used to have a lot of power, going back to the Lucky Luciano days, Paul Castellano, and there was a lot of ties over there. And I can tell you this pretty sure that, that it wasn't the Russians.
So anything that goes bad in our life, fam,
it wasn't the Russians.
Like if I don't know, if we have an earthquake, I'm blaming the Russians. If the bathroom is messed up, I'm blaming the Russians.
Somebody burnt my chicken. The Russians. I don't eat chicken no more.
My Subway order.
Russians.
So, and going back to Max Blumenthal's tweet really quick, I just want to show that he put whatever image.
Gangbanging immediately.
What was this about? It was Jake Tapper who wrote an article.
Yeah, I think it was to do with I think it was China, if I'm not mistaken.
Anyways, he posted that, and then I posted.
There's the warning.
To even press the like button for this tweet, a warning pops up, and this is my screenshot of that. And
oh yeah, and I wanted Johnny. I want to show the video.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And really quick, just under it, Jordan Allen was like, my Twitter app literally closed itself when I tried to hit
That's
like.
happening a lot. Frank Analysis said something like that. I told you guys that shit too, right? Like in the middle of doing shit, it just shuts down. Go ahead, Johnny.
It's shutting down. And then someone's like, I only want to see materials that have been obtained through hacking. Someone else said Twitter crashes when I press the like button.
Yep.
And my Twitter actually crashes if I try to like. So that's 3 people right there. Jordan Allen, along with these 2 other people, saying the same thing.
Deep state.
That Twitter keeps stopping. See? And then I believe, fam, you have that video, correct?
Yeah. So I sent it to you. You should have it.
Yes.
And then I have a picture from Reddit too. So I'm just going to add the Reddit picture.
Dude, you're deep state. No, dude, you're deep state. No, the deep state is live and well, and they put all these tactics in play.
Okay, so because people were saying this, right? So here's we're going to prove it.
Here's a video.
Okay, there it is. This person shared the Grayzone article, right? And so she's going to go like it, and then it shuts down.
Bloop.
And then she opens it again, goes through the whole thing, likes other tweets.
So she's going to like that tweet or unlike it, and then like it again. And then try to go to, hey, look, Misty was able to like it. But she presses like. Twitter keeps stopping.
You're a conspiracy theorist.
I've caught this with like YouTube on our stream when we had the Google whistleblower. Remember what we had on what's his
Zach
name?
Voorhees.
Yeah.
Zach Voorhees. Yeah, it was like it would not let me watch the stream. It kept shutting down and stuff. Yep. I'm telling you, this shit happens.
It's
real, people think this is like fake news, and then this is the last time she tries to do it. And this is an Android phone, and I know it happens with Apple phones too. But, people initially thought this was just like an app problem, like, oh, it's my phone or something like that. You saw multiple people. Now, I want to show Reddit because Reddit actually also censored them. I mean, this article, doesn't this make you want to read the article? And you guys should, because it's really intricate. But look, I mean, look at what it says at the bottom.
What, that?
No, it's supposed to say, hold on, is that the right one? Let me see. No.
Let me go on Reddit.
See if you can go on it. I think I have the wrong picture. Oh, this is the right one. I'll put it up.
84 watching on the Rokfin. Come on over from the YouTube. That's ROKFIN on your FM dial. Help out the Convo Couch. Bring real media to you.
So that one they managed to post, but this is what happens if they catch it. So it's being what do you have? I don't know how Reddit works, but you have these people who are moderators, right? Like they have to allow this to happen. So they took it down initially. So somebody got away with posting it, but then they take it down, and I just put it in the thing. Basically, it says, "Sorry, this post has been removed by moderators. So moderators, I guess on Reddit, I don't know.
The moderators on Reddit are always like super neoliberal.
Right. So
that's been a thing.
So the moderators are removing the article now.
And a lot of people say, it's ruining Reddit. And then,
it is
all the real
Reddit.
people are off. Like me. Like I was on Reddit in 2013. And then, I was on it like every day. So I was like, I'm going to lay off of Reddit a little bit. But also because some of the moderation was like, what the heck? Everything's getting deleted.
Yeah.
All these threads are getting deleted. People are making jokes and stuff. And all these threads are getting deleted. Like what? When did it get so, tone policing and stuff like that?
Well, this is what the establishment does. They invest money. They put people in there to basically censor. And we've seen legislation they're going to do more of this in the Joe Biden administration. They're going to have actual teams set out to stop misinformation, to avoid the Capitol riots.
Yeah. She says it's going to be like censorship on steroids. And she's not lying. Listen, all you had to do was look at the money. $16 million going to Joe Biden. Less than $1 million going to Donald Trump from big tech. As somebody, by the way, Martinet says, sorry, Pasta, I prefer YouTube. Martinet, join the Rokfin revolution. Get on over to Rokfin.
I know they have some kinks to work on with the app.
They're working on it, though. They're working hard. We had 88 people watching. Johnny, anything else on this right now?
Nope.
All right. By the way, John Moore Jr., he left us Super Ray. Thank you so much for the Super Ray contribution. We also have Reeve Barker. Reeve. Love Reeve.
Thank you,
late
guys.
to the party. Reeve is late to the party. Just got an invitation to a COVID-19 vaccine event. The letter seems to be trying to excite us to get it. Jesus.
Oh.
Alex Cohen. Haters go in and hate. Haters gotta hate, right?
Haters gonna hate.
Gonna hate. I don't want to say later. Haters gotta hate. Russian scum, says Kerry Mark. The name is Hunter Biden. Thy name is Hunter Biden. LOL. Ukrainian scum.
Yeah.
Go say it like the emperor. You Ukrainian scum. Andrea. Or Andrea. She's here. I am of Russian Polish descent. I am Polish too as well. Please consider this a tip, a down payment from Vlad.
Oh, you're gonna get us in trouble.
Oh, what are you doing?
We're gonna be marked as Russia propaganda.
Kerry Mark also says that Putin is better looking than Biden. LOL.
Ooh.
I'm a bot.
Putin, like I gotta say, Putin's got some muscles, man.
Putin
Like the guy on the horse,
is shirtless.
On the horse, Laura James.
Biden can't even get on a horse.
Thank you. He can get on like a donkey, like.
I'm just trying to poor donkey.
Oh my God, Laura James. I love that. Putin on a horse.
He'll be eating the carrot.
Putin gets on the ice and plays hockey.
Damn.
Cultist Demon, and thank you, by the way, Laura James, for your Super Ray. It is always appreciated on the couch. Cultist Demon, know why right-wing governments use authoritarian methods? Because they work. When leftist forces take power, they are forced to use similar methods by necessity. Geopolitics is not for the wimps.
It's not for the wimps.
Or chumps.
Or the chumps. You're a chump. Hey, dude, check your male cultist. You have a shirt coming out. Emlyn Fate. Embled Fate. Blue Anon is worse than QAnon. At least Epstein is real and the rest is bull. But with Russiagate, is an undying zombie facts that don't matter no matter how many times you debunk it. And that's true. It's been debunked here. It's been debunked there. They put it on everything, and it's super racist. And it's using it to censor everything, like us, the Grayzone, everybody. I thought it would end after Trump. No. Now the right is just screaming China too.
Yeah,
it's right. I mean, Cynthia McKinney wrote a book. It's like when China sneezes, the Democrats go after Russia, the Republicans go after China, and a little bit of both on each side. So it's really
they both go after like commies and
tankies.
Tankies. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same fucking.
Johnny, we're gonna talk about this right now, but do you have your?
I have a couple Streamlabs chat.
Yes, read your Streamlabs tabs first, and then we'll.
Trey said, when your Android notification's on silent mode and you got to rewind the best political show.
Oh.
Thank you, Trey.
You're the best, Trey.
Marcus Will said, you guys don't upload in 144p on Rokfin. Hard to watch without data drain. Get on that Wi-Fi.
We have Wi-Fi. Oh, are you talking about the upload? I don't know.
They're saying, like, if you're on an Android and you're on not Wi-Fi, it drains the data. For any video, I think, really. But Rokfin doesn't have the options to get a lower. I think it does. It might.
Well, we'll make sure we mention that at the next.
It doesn't go too low though. It doesn't go lower. There's not as many options as in YouTube, right? There's a 144p.
Exactly. So you don't drain your data and stuff.
Yeah.
Johnny, we're gonna show this over here, but is your trailer ready? Because I think your trailer would really get people pumped for this, because it really shows what we do on the ground.
Yeah, the trailer's ready.
All right, so put it up real quick. I'll talk about the flyer as you get the trailer ready.
We'll upload it today.
Can we play it right after or no?
Yeah.
All right, so let's put this flyer up. Ladies and gentlemen, the Convo Couch. Oh, my Lord, am I struggling over here. The Convo Couch is going to take to the streets, fam, right?
Take it to the streets.
Yes, take it to the streets, because if not us, who? If not now, when?
And if we don't get it?
Shut it down.
Yeah.
If we don't get it?
Shut it down.
If we don't get it?
Shut it down.
So, what we're doing is we're taking to DC, ladies and gentlemen. We've had enough of this. We're still censored over here. We're still demonetized. So is Graham Elwood. So is Frank Analysis. So is Niko House. So are a bunch of voices out there right now. Anything they don't like to hear, they shut you down. They put your flags up like they did the Grayzone, like they do for Slow News Day, like they do for the Convo Couch, all different ways. And it's time is enough is enough. So we're going to go out to the streets. We're going to go and occupy CNN, right? Are we starting over there, Johnny?
Starting at CNN.
Starting at CNN.
Going on a secret route.
Little
tour. Little tour of the
we want to see how. I heard it's lovely in DC this time of year, Johnny. So we're saying fuck censorship. Come out there. Let's start to tell these people they're not going to silence the public square. They're not going to silence our voices. We're not going to take it anymore. And to show you what the Convo Couch does, Johnny Magic, that's what we call him right now, made ourselves a trailer to show what the Convo Couch loves to do. Take a look at it.
So I
am a member of the press here. We have our LLC.
The Convo Couch?
Yes, sir.
Never heard of that one.
Federal agents are right there. They're aiming from the top at people. They're shooting shit. Fuck you!
Oh my
We all just got sprayed.
My career is not more important than doing the right thing. And yesterday, they broke you all out while we were out here in the freezing cold protesting.
Liberals are, at times, allies. At times, they're unreliable allies. So I don't want to just...
Shortly after that speech, Dr. West, you were elected to the board.
30 years ago, you already do your homework. That's beautiful.
We do our homework here at the Convo Couch.
Also, as well, we have Tulsi Gabbard. She's here too. I think she's going to be asked the question. But the pasta.
Aloha, good to see you.
Gabbard.
We're in the presence of greatness. We must recognize.
Well,
It's great pasta.
Whoa, what's going on? What's going on? Oh shit. Oh shit. Where's Fee?
Walk away.
Don't fucking touch her. Don't mace her. We are press.
I've never seen anything like this. This is crazy. This is intense. People are really pissed off. They feel they've been cheated. They feel this election was no bueno, and they're not going to stop it.
There's no internet here. There's no hacking these things. Okay? There's no hacking.
But is there an SD card that can be inserted?
No, there's no SD.
So y'all don't have anyone with an SD card?
We have like a SIM card that goes in there, but it's not. There's no internet connection at all.
Why are ballots being brought right now? Who's receiving them? If no one's working, why is that happening? What is happening? What were those ballots?
Now, I haven't made this. This is from the county, and this clearly is admissible evidence, Your Honor.
Evidence-free conspiracy theories. Well, we don't have evidence because they won't let us look at it.
It's a catch-22. You can't
don't
have
have
one
evidence
without
that they
the other.
want.
Yeah.
You know, I love you guys. You know, you're such a fantastic team, and you're out there for the people. I've seen a lot of the, news agencies, but the way you go out, selflessly, my heart goes out to you, and God bless you, and I'm with you through every step of the way for election integrity.
There, guys, are arresting everybody.
Yeah, you are.
He is not racist.
So yes. Yes, your help, your super raise, your Patreons, your PayPals will help with our bail relief if we need it and stuff like that. Johnny, that was great work, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonny Tsunami, right over there. Johnny Magic, that was awesome. If you're not pumped, that was Portland. That was out in front of the courts over here for the evictions. That was in the streets for the no war with Iran after Soleimani's death.
Seattle.
I mean, it was Seattle. There's
all over Los
all
Angeles.
over. That's everywhere we go. Everything we do. You know, we were in D.C. That was D.C. Capitol building. I mean, you can see what we do. The Convo Couch does what you provide us the means and the necessities to do, and that's to get out there, give you the stories. It's not just about being on the couch, it's about getting out there with the people and making sure we bring the stories to you. So please, for all those folks who give us a super raise, thank you so much. They help us out. We need it for bail money. We are going, this is the Fuck Censorship Tour. We're going for a protest on March 17th. That's on St. Patty's Day, right?
That is St. Patrick's Day.
So come
Obviously,
on out
you're
with
not
us.
Irish, fam.
Get to D.C. Get out there. Enough is enough. This is big, fam. We did a story today. We were talking about how dangerous this is. We need to say fuck censorship and let everybody know, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Green Party, we don't care. This affects the people. Okay, we're supposed to be the fourth of stop. The fourth of stop. Well, they're stopping us, and we need your help to let them know that we're not going to take their censorship and tell them fuck censorship.
And this is after, of course, Action for Assange is going to have a protest in honor of, they have had the clovers for Assange. That's been their symbol, which is why they're doing it on St. Patrick's Day. And so we are going to do a protest right after, because Assange is a representation of press freedoms, is a representation of freedom of speech, and for everybody, but especially for journalists. And now we're seeing all these people get attacked. YouTubers, political commentators, journalists, all of us are under attack. Independent media is under attack, and we're being attacked directly by mainstream media, the stenographer class, the propagandists. And so we need to take a stand, because nobody has really gone after YouTube. I know Tulsi Gabbard did that Google lawsuit, but it's so expensive, and they are really a giant, just like Amazon is. And so we need more people to be out in the streets standing against censorship. You're seeing right now what they're doing to the Grayzone, what they've done to us. They've demonetized all of us, a lot of us. And so it's essential we actually go on the ground and have direct actions. And if you're in the area, by all means go. And if you can't go, please help us get there through any means possible, because that's what we're going to be doing, and supporting also, having building coalitions with people like organizations like Action for Assange and the activists that have been talking about Julian Assange for a long time. And this is why Julian Assange is so important, because right now we're seeing the same accusations that were thrown at him kind of be like just casually thrown out at people for writing articles trying to hold the state propagandists accountable. And so we're at a very dangerous and prescient time right now, where if we don't make this a really big issue, we're going down this really, really dangerous authoritarian fascistic rabbit hole, and people just don't see it because it's cryptic fascism. And that was an amazing video by Johnny. As you can see, we put ourselves in front of the police. We have no problem challenging the police state, whether it is the national security state or the stormtroopers that are there to do the bidding, right? So we're gonna do it. That's what we do. CNN, MSNBC, TYT, they don't get in front of police. They don't get guns pointed at them. We really do this because it's about the truth. So,
and we get there early too. We got to Portland quickly before Michael Tracy did. We got out to Portland, and everybody else. What I'm saying? Like, we got out there before anybody else that I know of and stuff like that. It was very interesting to see what was going on. And I always said back then that was one of the biggest mistakes of Donald Trump's whole freaking presidency, was the fact that he sent the feds in to protect a federal courtroom that was closed down during COVID in front of a homeless encampment. I mean, you saw the chefs go out there, the mothers, the wives, the whole 9 yards. This group of solidarity, these people come together and stuff. It was like, and what was he doing? It was against our civil liberties. They were pulling people off the streets without reading their rights, illegally detaining them. They didn't care because they classified them as a domestic terrorist. And what did the Democrats do when they got in order? It's like, it's almost the kabuki theater. One side plays each other. Now everybody's a domestic terrorist, and anybody who speaks against the state any dissenting voice, whether it be on the right or left, is shut down. But we got to stop it, ladies and gentlemen. We have to say, fuck your censorship and fuck you too. And that's what we got to do. I'm sorry for cursing, Mom, but it's necessary because this is for real right now. They've demonetized us, right? They've demonetized us on YouTube right now. We still can't, our voice can't get out of it. They still haven't given us a reason. And this is what they're going to continue to do. They're going to shut down voices like the Grayzone, who provide so much,
information
on foreign policy. We provide you so much information on elections. So much information on Julian Assange and press freedoms come from Slow News Day. I mean, all these groups, Action for Assange and Misty and all these people.
And notice that all these groups that are being targeted were there protesting, either in one way or another, supporting Force the Vote and supporting Julian Assange. And we were just there. And so these are all the targeted people doing the actual work, and they're the ones being targeted. And that goes to show you that if you're pissing people, you're pissing the right people off. We're doing good work. We're pissing the right people off. We're pissing off the Democratic establishment. We're pissing off the Republican establishment. We're pissing off the national security state. We're pissing off all of the military industrial complex and all these, all their facets, right? And so that is dangerous to them. And if our voices continue to grow, which is why you are all essential, they're going to have a really hard time, and they're going to try to shut us down. There's nothing we can do at this point but fight back. So that's what we're going to do.
Foreign policy matters.
Yes, it does, Johnny. Thank you for the Super Ray, Chris McCaffer, however you say it. Your Super Chat, your Super Ray contribution is always appreciated on the couch. DE says $5 more for your bail fund. We need it. Trust me. I mean, we're going to D.C. right now. We don't know what's going on. And this is to what we're talking about. The reason why this is our protest. We are throwing this. I mean, I'm not trying to take thunder away from anybody. This is about the Convo Couch putting on our thing right now. And it takes a lot of guts to put yourself on the line to do these things right now. We have a lot of things going on, but we said, if nobody's going to, if not now, if not us, who, if not now, when, and that's why we're doing this, because this is so important. And what, Virgil Fitzgerald put over here was a Super Ray, says, guys, when I post a link to the Washington Post about the $10 billion contract Microsoft received from the Pentagon on YouTube, my comment gets deleted. I can't even find it on my comment history. There's the link. Try making a comment on any YouTube video with this link. I bet it will be gone soon. It's the deep state, and that's what it is. They shut you down if you have anything to say against their, against their narrative. That's what they do. Man, it's disgusting, and that's why we're throwing this protest, because enough is enough. With a $10 billion cloud computing deal snarled in court, and they keep putting up this shit too as well. Snarled in court, the Pentagon may move forward without it.
Yeah, it's hard because WAPO is behind a paywall, and I'm not paying for their fucking
either am I. They have a contract
democracy
with the CIA.
Dies in darkness bullshit.
Microsoft has a contract with the Pentagon. Washington Post has a contract with the CIA. Jackie Pagao, thank you so much. We love Jackie. That's a great vid. So happy I can support the important work you do. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate you, Jackie. I know you support us in many ways. So
you do.
You.
And that video just gets you amped. It gets you hyped. And Johnny, you did a great job. Where are we going to release that later on today?
Both places.
On YouTube and Rokfin. It's going to be our trailer on both.
Awesome. Anna H. Gordanier. Anna H. Gordania. Anna G. AHG. Thank you so much for the Super Ray contribution. You got us right near $100 today. We do appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate all you do. We have 100 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down. Who's the goddamn troll? Find the troll. Bring me the troll. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, March 17th, join us in Washington.
Last thing, G Hippie 24/7. Amazon sucks. Amazon sucks. Amazon sucks.
Thank you.
Yes, they
do.
Guess what? Amazon sucks.
Google
Fuck censorship.
Sucks. YouTube sucks.
Google sucks. Fuck censorship.
Fuck
there goes that $5. The Convo Couch. AHG. Anna H. Gordanier. Yeah, to get us over $100 mark.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. That's what they did. See, those people just love us. Thank you, Anna. You got us over the mark for the day. You're great. And it does help out. The bail fund is getting fatter and thicker. What you can do is you can constantly support us.
We're not going to try to get arrested,
We're not, but you never know. So, I mean, there's been times when people have been detained, put in cuffs. So, Thank you so much for joining us
Hashtag
today.
Johnny
Join
and
us
I.
every day. Thank you so much for all those new people who joined and have subscribed to us. Those things help. They really, really do. We have 171 subscribers. We're trying to get to 200. So help us out.
29 more.
29 more. Join the Rokfin. Help us out. Thank you for the PayPal. Thank you for our Patreons. For Pasta Jardula.
Fiorella.
Johnny Sue on those 1s and 2s.
Come out.
You know, I'm thinking about a mole quinoa bowl with plantains. That's what I'm thinking.